Alrighty, everyone. Hello. Alrighty, everyone. Hello. No, the looping audio. No, the looping audio. I've done sin. No, the looping audio. I've done sin. Okay, hello. That's stopped now. Hello, everybody. Apparently you can create a really easy audio loop if you just listen to your stream on Twitch, and it just loops. Which is a fun adventure I didn't mean to go on. Okay. Well, hello everyone. This is I think our first stream after sort of the final talkback for Divine Right of Kings Season 1. And I have been working hard on making the Lancer table updates. So I wanted to tell everyone about that and also show it off and maybe make some maps. And also, I don't know if people wanted to make it to this one and couldn't make it to the last one and had any questions for us they wanted to put in chat, they're more welcome to do that. And also, I have learned a thing or two about running Lancer in the last 9 months and would love to talk about that. And with y'all, we have Marsiment and Harvestman. We can see over there in their Divine Right of Kings personas. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm in an enclosure.
Oh no! Oh no! We can set you free. Hold on, I can grab your source and walk you around. Now you are free.
No, it's okay.
But so essentially, I wanted to talk about like the table update. Which, thank you all for sitting through, you know, the 9-month testing phase that happens before another big update sometimes. Like, I needed to figure it out, what worked and what didn't before I dove back in. And, yeah, thank you for joining me. So, I want to start off. This is the new version of the table. A lot of ways it's quite similar. And I wanted to talk a little bit about it. I think I'm going to try and make a YouTube video, if I could swing it, later on to show people how to use the table. But I figured the easiest to demonstrate would be to start on the table itself, which we were using to play Lancer over the past campaign. We were on a version of this table that has slowly gotten updated and tweaked as, like, I found out that things needed to be different. Hello. Welcome, person in chat. It's good to see you again. So yeah, I want to talk about what's on this table, how to use this table. I think there were design decisions that I made on this when I was like 5 years ago when I first put this mod together. Some of which I stand by, some of which could have been a little different, but that's what 5 years will do. It does you learn and time and change. Also, we have the starting screen now has the cover for the second edition of Lancer as the base table pattern, because I don't think it looks cool. So yeah, let's tour around a little bit. So if you're using the table as a player, right? Your seat's gonna be in one of these. I think. Oh, here. Let me change the mod. So I turned one of the options in Tabletop Simulator turns off the little dupe of your avatar, which I did so that we could get those like shots from the table without seeing our cute little avatars on stream. Essentially, Harvestman sitting in this seat, and because there is no corporeal form, I can just peer over here. Right? If you're sitting here as a player, essentially because so much of Lancer, right? So much of the narrative part of Lancer, you are rolling a d20, adding your skills and your grit at disadvantage and advantage. You're not going to essentially be like that. It's very light. So most of the time when you're rolling narratively, you don't require much rules. So essentially what this table is doing is providing you a space to play those narrative encounters and providing you a space to play out those combat encounters, right? So a lot of this is geared towards making the combat specifically much easier. And to that end, let's see. And also, please interrupt me, chat, and please interrupt me, folks beside me, with your questions. I just want okay, so each player has this sort of like this little tray in front of them, which like I think we used to folks put their models here and stuff while we were playing, but also over here there's like a quick combat reference, right? So you can give it a quick once over, which is the combat ref from the book. Over here is just a PDF. You can actually, if you're in tabletop, you right click and click pop out, and you'll just see this over your screen, sort of partially highlighted. Is the mech combat section from the book, just because like that way you can always look stuff up. You always have it on hand. And there's the Lancer roller. I don't remember who made this. I'll go look it up. I'll credit them properly in full. But I love this little dupe. It's been so nice. So many thank yous to the person who made it. I will probably go find the mod that they made it in and give them many thank yous because it's so nice. But essentially you just, it does the math for you for like accuracy and difficulty, right? If I had 2 difficulty and 1 statistic bonus, I could just hit this and click on it and dice would come up. Dice would also come up in my color and they would print at the top. One of the things I ended up doing as we ran was the GM, we'll talk about the GM later, but has a copy of this as well, and I would drag the GM copy of it wherever our camera was pointing while we were streaming, so you got to see the dice whenever I could. It's fun. It's fun. It's cool that we're playing a little game. And because weapons deal like D3s and D6s of damage, there are also these little bags of D3s and D6s. I swear that these are D6s and that's a D3, but I'm a freak and I think they should be cool and sci-fi themed. I don't know. I think this D3 is sick. I know it's unreadable. I'm sorry. I just think it's neat. I know in the past, y'all were like, how do I read this? And you were like, oh, it's cool. I know where are the
now it's easy.
Now it's right. Once you understand the cryptic glyphs, it's very intuitive.
The first time I saw it, I did ask myself, what the fuck?
What is that object? I want to get some of these for myself in real life. I just think they're cute. I just like them. God. Okay, so there's this, right, which would be the player facing like your tray. The other thing specifically for players, and I designed this also because this helped me when I was learning, was over here there's like a list of actions and you can mouse over them and they'll like the little pop-up on tabletop symbol will show you what they do. But also, these are not game terms, these are things that I made up. I divided them to basic, advanced, and contextual actions. For us, and I put movement and common responses and common tech actions down here. But essentially I put them up here because when Lancer presents itself, it'll present all of these actions sort of in a blob, right? And like you need to use the shutdown action much less than you need to use the quick tech and the barrage actions, right? So I tried to organize, like, if you're just starting out, you actually mostly only need to use these 6, know what these 6 actions are. And then as you are learning more, maybe you need to know what these actions are. And then maybe if you're getting really jiggy with it, remember that these actions exist, right? Like, our basic actions, our basic half actions, our skirmish, our boost, our quick tech, we know what those are. It's important. Oh, yes! Manipulating TTS can be a pain. I found that, thank you, chat. Manipulating TTS can be a struggle. I found that, essentially for everyone I've talked to, the first time you interact with TTS, most people bounce right off of it. That was my experience of it. But I found that it makes it easier if you have someone experienced that you are playing with, just because that means that, like, when you try to do an action, you're like, oh, why can't I pick up this deck of cards? Or, like, why can't I draw a single card from it? Or, like, how do I manipulate this object? They know what the little quirk of contextual interaction is, and it becomes so much easier. Because it's much easier to learn, right? When you have that help with that. I've been debating running some open games in not like streaming them, but running some open games on PilotNet, because PilotNet is cool. I want to get to know the cool PilotNet people, and also what if people got to run around on the fancy tables? That's another matter. But yeah, so this, like, essentially the basic advanced and contextual actions, right? I'm trying to sort them in this way so that as a new player you can easily pick them apart. Like, you can easily pick apart, like, oh, well, I want to shoot someone. Where's the shoot action? It's probably at the start, right? Or like, oh, I want to grapple someone. Well, I don't see it here, but maybe if I move one step of difficulty deeper, right? And so that way, like, you don't need to learn the dismount action unless you're us, and you constantly get out of the robot at every opportunity because you need to do some things. Sometimes you've got to express it. Also up here is the list of actions you take on your turn, right? You can take one full or two quick. You get a move, you get an overcharge, you get a reaction. And like free actions are free actions. And yeah, and each of these has the details on it. But actually, out of curiosity, what did we feel about bracing? Because it's so interesting because it was an action like we forgot about and then suddenly remembered abruptly when it was needed in a panic. How do we feel about bracing emotionally?
Bad.
If you need it,
the melee mech.
If you need it, you're in a bad place, but sometimes you need it.
Yeah. I love that Lancer's like, here's a reaction for if things are bad. Like, even when you're just taking a very gnarly hit, Lancer's like, I would like to give you a decision here. It's a decision that sucks, but it is an interesting choice.
I forget, can NPCs brace, or do they have to be special to do that?
I think NPCs have to be special to brace. But a lot of them have like ambient resistance to stuff and just take half damage. Chat, the part where you turn off avatars is just in, it's either in config or it's in options. I think it's options something. I think it might be in config. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Wait. Player names 234. Ah. I will find it in on. It's somewhere in the settings. Like it's not difficult to find. I love bracing. I feel like there's a design philosophy that I don't know if it ever is explicitly stated, but like feels like it's present in Lancer, where you at every opportunity the player is given at least some form of choice, and the game strives to make that choice interesting, right? Like the choice to brace in a panic is also interesting because but my next turn's gonna suck, but I take mildly less of a hit, right? And so there's always, like, Lancer strives to give you choices where there are multiple correct options most of the time, which is rules. It's the reason I play Balatro wrong. That's another matter. I've been playing a lot of Balatro. Shush, it's not important. It's not important.
Wait, how do you play Balatro wrong?
Playing Balatro wrong, playing it specifically. So instead of doing like the deck with no face cards or the deck that's only 2 suits, you specifically seek out deck situations where your multiplier is going up, but you still have to formulate interesting hands every turn. It's a fascinating way to play because at no point does the like trying to figure out your hand puzzle ever go away, in favor of like I created the deck that creates a full house every turn, the perfect full house every turn, right?
Oh, okay,
which is numerically better, but less bizarre. Like, you get less moments of like, I mean, I could do this. Like, and I love those moments. I love weird play puzzle decisions. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll try this. I don't know. Okay, but yeah, so on a player-facing side, essentially, that's most of what you need to know how to do. In a past version of the table, there were these like scripts on the models. Some of them might still be lingering. I've tried to get rid of them. But I've tried to get rid of those in favor of like these little you saw them probably in the last like 10 episodes of the campaign or so. These little icons someone made, which were for a HUD utility, but like frankly they should all have grid disabled, but that's a matter. I'll fix that before I do the upload. But you just drag them onto the base or around the base, If you say got 8 burn in one turn and it's hard to fit them all, just because that, like, they're readable, you can mouse over them, they describe what they do. It's just easier to work with, easier to see, and like it's nice. And we'll talk in a second about I don't know. Are there any questions on using the table as a player that people have in this moment? If not, that's okay. I've tried to make it very straightforward.
I think we, or at least I, learned enough to use it competently during our campaign.
Yeah.
Sweet.
It's solid.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I try to do in almost every game I run is like lower the barrier of entry to players, and like sometimes that means sleepless nights designing weird shit to try and make it as intuitive as possible. But like, there's also an extra copy of the mech combat sheet up here. If, say, the GM is like, I want you to turn to page X. I never got that granular with it. I kind of just rolled, but that's a me thing. And so if you're getting really granular, the GM can be like, hey, can you look at this page? And everyone can just have this as the pop out on their screen, this one at the top, and can flip through it as needed, right? I think I've mentioned this before. This is expected to be used with CompCon. So, like, my expectation is that, like, people have this open on one screen and CompCon on another screen. Like, here's what's going on outside of the mech, and they have their, like, mech console UI on the other screen, right? Okay, and now I have to become God for a minute. Hello, everyone. I'm God. Hello, I'm God. Okay, so back here behind the screen, which, by the way, I have extended the borders of the screen and made it black because it blends in, and that's something I stumbled into in the final episodes of the campaign. That's sick. It's got to go here because it makes the GM screen disappear instead there's just the word Lancer, and I think that's sick. So here's the GM screen, and also, I can't
believe it.
You can watch.
See behind the screen.
You can see behind the screen.
Exciting.
It's so exciting. No, it loaded wrong. Come on, load correctly. There we go. Okay, so here's behind the screen. There's a tips for GMs thing here, which you don't need to have here. I just have here, by default. And I actually, one of the things I want to mention about this that's unique is I want to mention how I use hands, because that's something I learned over the course of running the campaign that, like, really made the pace of the game faster, meant that I didn't have to snap behind the screen and snap in front since I was also doing the camera work. I maybe did a lot of stuff this campaign.
Perhaps.
Just a bit. But so you'll notice that since I'm God, I have this thing in my hand. It's the roller. And then you may be asking, a hand? Isn't that for cards? Not if you want it to be. A hand is actually the hand in Tabletop Simulator is actually a list of items that you have constant access to on the bottom of your screen right down here. Beak, beak, beak. I'm done. And so you can pop this out at any time, right? Drop it down. Do yourself a roll. Or if someone's doing a roll, you can pop it out wherever it's like fits on screen, and people can know to use that dice roll if you've talked to them about it, and then just pop it back in your hand. And that allows you to, like, appear and vanish stuff across the table, kind of like magic. This is the part where I take down all the fog and mirrors, and actually it's very simple. But if you are running a game, we can talk later about how you make the custom mech miniatures. But if you're running a game and you just want a model for something, I have almost all of the NPC models for almost all the NPCs, including like stuff that other folks have made these, but stuff folks have made for other for the NPCs, like stuff, right? Like the assassin puts an assassin mark on somebody, and you can find these all in this little bag here. You can recall it, so it goes away and have this nice clean table. You can also like, boop, and there's just all of the the default looks of all the NPCs. Like if you're like, oh, I want to throw something together and I don't need it to be a big hullabaloo, you're like, well, I want a pyro. We can talk about we were talking a little bit before stream, but I assume we're probably going to talk more in depth about like making a lineup. But if I was just like, I want to toss something together, how about we just want to focus people down to death? What about an Avenger and a couple? I don't know. We'll go fast. A couple Demolishers, right? Let's see. Control V. And then if you're like, well, they don't look custom enough, like how do we know what faction they're part of? You can just color tint them. And if you color tint these, it'll only color tint the bases. So you're like, well, I want these to be, you know, this mercenary company. Well, now they're all red, so you can tell that, right? And they're not going to be the fancy custom paint jobs. But, like, I can tell what model this is. Also, because I love you with my truest heart. I tried to, for almost all of them, the ones with Biomecha variants that the Retrograde has made also have a Biomecha variant on here. I need to remove the script here, but also have if you want to get extra fancy, I think the Ronin has like 3 variants on this table. If you're like, well, but are there really enough cool dude with sword that parry bullet? The answer is, I don't know, as many as you want. But yeah, so like if you want to just make NPCs, that's how you do that. We're going to talk more about maps in a second, but oh, some of these are old. There's Runway. Runway works. And now and also you'll see along here, there's the flight stands we used. There's also extra copies out here to dig through. There's also tokens for all the like base mechs. But right
you
here.
said it at one point, but how do you adjust height for height stands?
Okay, so the height stands. The height stands are the Tabletop Simulator has a thing called object states, essentially where you can press a number or right click and go to state. You see the state menu and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. And that will change the state. So the flight stand starts at height 1, which is state 1. That means height 2 is state 2, and you're just pressing a number on it to change it, or you right click it and you change, like I would like to be height 2 again, and you right click it and you hit state and it changes shape. Something I discovered from trying to help Paramnesia fly around is, listen, it's sick, but Tabletop Simulator, the degree to which Tabletop Simulator was not made to do this and people have made it do this is significant. Like Tabletop Simulator was like, let's sit around a table and play Uno, and people were like, I would like an interactive diorama that like manages all of the numbers on my stuff. Like that's a really different category of thing we're asking of this 12-year-old software.
We love our goofy physics simulator.
It's a goofy physics. So what I will say is that the height stand here. Actually, can I show you this in a second? Can I come back to you in a second once we've loaded a table, because it will make it a lot easier to see all this stuff. Can I finish the height stand explanation in a second? Because there's a second height stand tip thing that I want to share.
Oh, shit.
But for right now, are you ready for the magic to happen? So you see this table, it's nice, but the real point of this table is to provide us an environment to have a sick, nasty 3D diorama to run our little robots around on, right? And that's why, mwahaha, and that's why we have this little unassuming thing here. It's called Stage. This is borrowed from the Corvus Belli Infinity mod. A lot of this stuff is from individual mods that is assembled and placed here and organized. And like I designed the layout, but a lot of the tools the tools themselves I didn't design. Thank you to the Infinity people, by the way. You guys rule. I don't know what's going on over there in the Infinity community, but everything they make is sick nasty, and I love them. Any of the like cool like infantry scale non-mech people that you saw running around during our Lancer campaign, those were all Infinity models that were sized to scale. Okay, so the cool part is this box is going to be full of custom maps. We will show custom maps in a second. But no, I fucked it up. Hold on. So all you have to do, if you don't say grab an object out of the bag and make everything bad, all you have to do to load the table is you grab a map. Please load nice. Thank you. Don't explode. Thank you. As you take this bag, the tabletop sim thing to remember that I just fucked up is you want to grab a whole bag and not an object from the bag, click, and then hold it till it does that. Because if you just click and drag out immediately, you'll just drag the topmost thing off the top of it, which allows you to draw cards and stuff. It allows you to pick up decks of cards, or allows you to like pull a thing from a bag or pick up the whole bag. Right? Okay, so you drop the bag where it says drop bags here. It's a very complicated system, and then it throws up some error text that stresses you out, and then this doesn't load properly. I will get that fixed, and then boom, we have the table itself. Like this is the thing that like the table is built around making. Like all around here are play aids. This is the main show, right? This is the big fancy star of the show. Is this like very cool diorama set up, right? So in that example from earlier, let's get our guys back. Let's get our Avenger and our not our Goliaths. I'm so glad that I waited, by the way, to bring out Goliaths for our campaign, so we got to have the moment like, what do you mean mechs can be that big? What do you mean? Let me. Sorry, they should be set. By the way, if anything doesn't go in your hand, you can go over here, right-click it, go to toggles, go down to hands, and check. Make sure it's checked, and then you can do this, and see they're down here in my hand now. That means, for example, if we had, let's see, let's grab us some robots. By the way, Pen, is it okay if you're the example size 1/2 mech?
Yeah.
The past size 1/2 mech didn't stopped, like its texture got broken.
Oh no.
And, so as to honor you, you can be the default size 1/2 mech.
Yeah.
So you got this whole table. So the thing I learned from moving around Paramnesia, which would you believe we're doing again, is that if you're working with a flight stand, for example, which I don't know how to say, like, I don't think if we had a 2D map, the degree of like the Duskwing goes up and is no longer beholden to your shotguns, like, was so beautiful, and I don't think would have been available on a 3D map. So the thing with the flight stands that is important to remember is if, like, for example, you wanted to move forward to here, but you wanted to keep your height intact, the actually most useful thing would be to copy this flight stand and then move you from, it's always going to be finicky, move you from one flight stand onto another, instead of trying to move the whole assembly around, because that gets, I mean, it's working right now, but it gets janky, especially in any environment where there's any sort of tilt.
Yeah.
It gets janky. The other thing you can do, I disabled locking for my players, just because then only one of us can make the whole map explode on accident. And I did enough on my own without any help. But you can also, when you're moving stuff around, lock things in place. Or say, for example, like you want a mech to stand here, but you don't want it to stand at this weird, like, this spot right here. And you want a mech to stand there, but you don't want it to be at all at this funky angle. But, like, clearly there should be a mech able to stand right here on these boxes, right? It's a giant robot. What you can do is you can right-click it, and go to toggles, and go to lock at the top of this list, or just lock it by pressing L. I usually just press L, lock, and then go down the gizmo tool, and just slide it on in there. And that way, at any point, if your collision is being janky, you can make them an object that is no longer beholden to physics, so that they can stand on the cool crates or whatever, without it being an issue, right? Like, now that this is locked, it can stand on this coupling thing, which is very janky. Actually, it works pretty well. Thank you, Collision. You're working great. But, like, that's an important tool for running that I discovered. If you're having trouble with collisions, you can just lock things and move them around. Try to move them so you can't reach them again, because then you can't remove them or delete them, right? But that's really helpful. And also, the reason I was talking about hands, now that we have a map in front of us, what if our friend the Duskwing flew off, and then suddenly they were ambushed by these guys who buried themselves under the ground? Now, I can reach down here into my GM pouch, and they can go, wah! Hold on, let me... Wah! Dun dun dun! And they can appear out of nowhere, right? And, like, from a player perspective, the guys just appeared from nowhere. From your perspective as a GM, you always had those in hand, and the ambush could happen wherever it needed to happen on the map. But you always had access to them, right? You always had a hand on where they were and where they were going. I think that's neat and helpful. If you're running combat, I would highly recommend this row of, like, these are the status effect icons. You can grab these, and you can also just tuck them in your hand. Oh, no, get it, sir. Sir, get. Oh wait, does he not have a hand? He's not in hands. This will be fixed before the full update gets pushed out. But yeah, so like you can just, and now you can just reach down and like, well, it'll be easier to see once you don't have the roller in your hand because all the stuff will change size. But now you can be like, well, he got shredded. I don't need to run behind my GM screen. I can just reach down here. He got exposed, right? I don't need to run back here behind my GM screen. I can just grab this and just drop it on the base, right? And so like the status effects likewise can also just pop in and pop out because you, the GM, can just manage that. Or your players can reach over here and grab them, right? And either way, you can drop those statuses on stuff sort of at your leisure. And again, if you hold your mouse over them, they'll tell you in the little pop-up what they do. It's very helpful.
What? Your hand
thanks.
can get full though, right? Like, how many items does that take?
There's not a limit, but it does start becoming cumbersome and kind of onerous to put too many objects in your hand. You should have seen what my hand was like for the final episode of Divine Right of Kings when I tried to put every possible NPC that could show up in there, because like when I tell you that like there were still people that could have shown up that didn't. Good gracious. Actually, Divine Right of Kings, the final episode, I ended up making like bags, like bag objects, right up here, object, components, tools, bag, hello sir, which are just, they're containers that hold other objects, right? I ended up taking bags and just putting like all of the NPCs from one thing that was going to happen in the bag. Again, toggles, hands, check mark. And just having bags, right? So I'm like, well, I know these reinforcements are gonna come out, so kind of off screen over here, I'm gonna drop this bag, and then I'm gonna take the stuff out of this bag, right? Sure. Which helps me track them. Most encounters you probably won't need to do that. Like another thing here, because there's two demolishers and one Avenger, your hand could also look like one Avenger and one Demolisher, and you just drop the Avenger, you drop the Demolisher, and then you hit Control C and Control V, and bam, there's your two Demolishers, right? Like you only need one copy of each NPC, and I'm not gonna lie, I have recommendations for what NPCs, how to build NPC comps, and the fact that in most situations you don't actually need more than 3 different NPC models for the enemy force. This is my hot take. But yeah, did I answer your question good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Let's see, by the way, you may be asking yourself, well, this is a cool, you may be thinking, oh, well, this is a cool new GM screen you've made that blends into the background seamlessly. But what if I don't want the union symbol? Don't worry, there are 12 states on this object if you right click on it. And they're all sick. They're all different, like if you have a Horus theme campaign, if you have a campaign taking place on Spar, if you have say a Baronies themed campaign. Ho 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 ho. You can change the title. You can change the GM screen to match it, which is like not an important thing, but it's a cute Easter egg. And when I make these mods, because they're so big, like there's tons of cute Easter eggs out here. There's tons of cute Easter eggs. What other GM stuff on this table? I might, if I was running a campaign, reset it at some point to prevent people from playing with it too much, but please continue playing with it right now. There's a Harrison one, there's an IPSN one. Essentially, all of the logos that I found in the files on the Git for logos in the Lancers campaign setup. Okay, but so yeah, there's that. Down here, there's additional GM tools. There's stuff in here. There's a thing that makes things turn invisible. There's like an objective flag, right? Important. Some of these maps are very fucking big. You'll see this. This is a very big map, right? Our robots are cool, but this is a whole airfield, right?
God.
I will say we learned this lesson. I think in our second fight. And I'm never going to make that mistake again. Your Lancer encounters should never be your map. The actual area of action should never be more than 20 to 30 hexes across. That is much smaller than this actual table. Like, for example, if I was building a Lancer fight here, if I started this runway, it should never be longer than about the tail of this plane in terms of what the actual area of action is. Like what the actual, just because that's what the range bands are built for. That's what people's speeds are built for. That's how you're supposed to build a Lancer fight. Lancer is very much one of those games where it's valuable to listen to what it recommends what the numbers to be, because I think people have gotten used. Like I know, and this is not me shit talking D&D, I swear. But because people have learned from D&D and I think other games where they're cool and they're a lot of fun, but their numbers aren't as tuned as Lancers are, that what they should do with combat is with their system is to jury rig it, so that it'll be fun. So it'll be more interesting and more exciting. And Lancer really benefits from doing its recommended actions. Like following its level path, following its like recommended distance and stuff. Lancer really benefits from that. And so like Lancer as a game really wants you to be within 30 hexes. I don't know if that's stated explicitly in the book, but like the community will tell you that a lot. It's like 30 is kind of like, and of course you can pull that in and out for individual fights, right? But generally you want to make sure that that's not the case. Just for a lot of balance reasons. It means the fast mechs feel fast. It means that things feel the right scale. Yeah. And the thing I was saying with my words, and if you are, say, building an encounter and it's like, a lot of this map is set dressing, right? If we're just fighting over this area right here in the middle, a lot of this map is just like cool stuff happening in the background, right? We're on this cool airfield and we're having a mech fight over here. And generally you don't have to build, I found that you don't have to build like hard barriers on an encounter, right? You don't have to be like, oh, here's the invisible wall. You can just place enemies in that kind of area and in that sort of 20 to 30 range band at the start of a fight, or like when a fight starts and enemies drop in or they reinforce, and the players will follow that sort of instinctually, right? The flow of the combat will be in that area, so it'll balance itself out. A lot of my experience of running Lancer was being surprised to find that the system had my back. Like, I am worried to run high crunch games historically because I worry about not doing the numbers right and it not being a fun game. Lancer is designed very meticulously to be a fun game, and it's good. I don't know. I'm sorry if I'm just rambling about nonsense. It's just like an important thought about like when you run games. And this will be more relevant in a second when we talk about running maps. But you can use this pen tool up here, the second tool on your tabletop sim, to draw on the ground, right? Like I could be like, oh, y'all are about to airdrop into this mission, or like y'all are about to like if narratively the players got ambushed, right, by the security forces, I could be like, this is your deployment zone, right? And then everyone just steps into that area before the combat starts. Or I could be like, well, this over here is your objective, and draw, another square of a different color, right? Give me a, or like, this is a cap zone around this ship, and then just, I mean, I would draw it a little more cautiously if I wasn't just slamming jamming it out, but like, yeah, I don't know. Any other GM setup stuff on this table on running the game? Give us a moment to comment.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I have questions about.
And of course, more questions will pop up, I'm sure. But like, I know we were talking about building encounters, and we can talk about that later. We can talk about that now. That might be a conversation it's useful to have CompCon open for, honestly. But actually, he's a flying Avenger. Whee! Tally ho! Okay. Actually, a flying Avenger sounds very scary. Actually, if the Avenger can fly, I think all of the long threat weapons suddenly become like much better AA control, because they can hover through the air and just control the zone around them to a much greater degree. Again, the Duskwing player flying out of enemy's threat is like the most basic of 3D interactions, and it's so funny. It's so good. I honestly love, like, one of the advantages of 3D. Oh, that's the thing. You see these crates? If someone wanted to stand on top of these crates, you could right click on the crates, go to toggle grid projection, and bam. Now you know how to climb on the crates. And what the spaces are on the crates. And you don't have to do that until enemies are up there, or until something is walking on it. So that way, stuff far from the action, like say this thing in the back. I could turn off grid projection, and then bam, it looks a little fancier, right? No. Oh, but yeah, I love the things that we can do with 3D. Like, the Duskwing is physically... I remember, I think the temple fight in our campaign, where, like, the Duskwing just swung in and around underneath the base of an object that I hadn't thought of being covered, but because you're size 1/2 and you fly, like, you had the perfect hit and run cover.
Yeah.
Just because you analyzed the space around the 3D object, and like, that was cool and interesting. I thought that was so sick. I should have, the Rainmakers having reliable on their main attack is really upsetting, because it's great. It's so capable of just wombo comboing people. Yeah. I don't know. Does anyone have any more thoughts and questions? Here's the table. Over here in GM tools, there's just sort of miscellaneous stuff. Like, there's an object that makes, I haven't worked with it, but there's something that makes objects visible to some players but not others. If you really want to be a problem child, there's like a little flag. If you're doing like objective play and you want it to be easily visible, what's the objective? There's Baronix's cool objective flags that are these 2D floating hologram objects, which I think are the coolest thing in the world. There are working portals. There's note cards. There's notepads. There's there's a HUD utility if you want to put HUDs on your robot, like health bars on your robots. And you want to mess with that. It's not something I have played with, but like, it's there as an option if you want it. there's all kinds of stuff. I try to put little toys and things around. But yeah, I don't know. There it is. There's the table.
Yay, table.
But of course, we've all seen the table. Like, this table's gotten like updates and tweaks, and I've learned a lot from running this for 9 months and making a good many mistakes and tweaks. And the table update's going to come soon. But the table exists. The table is receiving an update. But what's really funky... Oh, it's got stuff on it because I was playing with it last night. That's fine. What's really funky... Are we ready to move to the second one?
Do it.
Because you see all these fancy dioramas, and the answer is I don't want you to only use the ones that I've made. I want you to build your own fancy, overly detailed, 3-dimensional dioramas.
Fuck yeah.
Part of the chug. My ominous speech should be a little bit longer here so it can finish loading in. Oh, there we go. Go away, sir. This here is the mod here's the tool that I used to make all of the Lancer maps that I made. And like the bulk of this, I think, was the bulk of this stream, at least by intent, was to talk about this beautiful mod right here, where you get to build cool maps. Welcome to the cool maps. I'm very proud of this one. This is something that like slowly got tweaked and built up, and then eventually I'm putting into a release date. I'm going to release that. I was hoping to today. Maybe it won't get done today. Maybe it'll get done in the next couple of days. But like, essentially a mod to help you make these 3D maps. Essentially, we have rows of bags of objects that are assets for you to play with in this 3-dimensional space. They're organized into sets, sort of across here. How do people and the 3D mechs around are just for the aesthetic, the vibes. Do people want to try making a map? There's also custom maps down here for you to look at. There's a little guide down here in this notepad, but I'm right here, so we don't have to worry about that. Do people want to try making a map? And we can talk about... yeah.
Could you show off how to load one of your custom maps first, just to get that mechanic nice and visible?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So these down here are the custom maps. They are sorted into 2 piles. These are all the sort of custom... like, a lot. These are custom maps. Over here, these are all custom maps that were on Divine Right of Kings. All these ones were used for specific fights, and are like sized and shaped for fights. The ones in this bag are not designed for fights. They're like narrative and thematic and narrative maps. But like, so if you want to, like, if you enjoyed Divine Right of Kings and want to play with those assets, I put those here as well because like. I want people to have fun. I
mean,
think
you already made them. May as well share.
Like, right? Well, like because so much of this is already based on a community of sharing. Like, I would love people to get to play with them and try things out. Okay, so for example, let's try Shell City Outskirts. Why not? Shell City Out. We Shell City Outskirts we used for one of the like pre-campaign sort of test combats. All right, and so similarly, right, this is the stage tool. Stage tool is going to do everything. It's this little unassuming box is going to do everything. We're just going to move this here, drop back here, and it's just going to... Don't have broken models. Okay, it's going to make alarming red text, but actually everything's fine. If there were streets, they're broken, but I don't know if there were streets. So right, and you're just gonna hit that, and bam, there's gonna be a map in front of you. This one's very rudimentary.
I remember this battle.
Yeah, it was fun. It was so good. We learned so many things about like not trying to hack a witch. And also, I think Bastion like took a third of the fight. It was so sick.
This was the like practice fight we had before anything when we were still all like level 0 and in the I was in the Chomo.
Man, that's a fuzzy memory.
It was a hot second ago.
We love
It was a hot second ago. I just remember like being like, okay, so here's how combat, and Bright was like, well, I don't play any tactics games, like I'm not sure I'll be good at this. And then Bright was like, okay, so I've understand the rules. Here I'm taking this compound grapple and then ram and then strike the rammed and grappled target. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? I think maybe we should give you more tactics games. You have the vision. You understand the truth of this thing. But yes, that's how the loader works. And we're gonna do all of that in a second. We're gonna hit clear table, and it's all just gonna. No, it's not. It's gonna have problems. It's a little glitchy. That's okay. Tabletop simulator. Sometimes you get what you get. We're just gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna vanish. Okay. So, if you want to say build a map, the first you see these marks right here are the outer bounds of the other table. It's like when you're building a map, you probably want, at least for me, for it to look fancy. I try to extend the object to the edges of this table to some degree, but generally, like, well, you don't have to do that, right? But these lines right here let you know approximately where sort of the edges of that table are. So if you extend objects a little bit past those edges, it'll be flush with the table. Like, it'll feel like the diorama is rising out of the center of the table, which this is good. So I gotta ask, do we feel like a 2D? When I'm building a map, essentially what I think about is, like, I think about what I want to build, but also this is partially here because it's fun to just play with. Do people want to build a 2D off from a 2D baseboard? People want to build from a 3D baseboard or a fancy 3D baseboard. I have the Deserts of Karak baseboards here too.
Mars?
I have no preference. I just kind of want to like watch what you do.
That's so valid.
Do you have anything foresty? 2D or 3D is
yeah. I think 3 looks the fanciest. So let's go with 3D because sometimes it'll take finagling. Let's see in the 3D maps. So essentially, I just reach up here, and these are infinite bags, which means that you can essentially I can make as many copies of 3D maps as I want. Backspace deletes objects. You will need this. So I'm drag this out, and then I click on it, search. Right click on it, search. Let me see something foresty. There are these. Let's see. How about a river crossing? How do you feel about a river crossing?
River crossing works.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this, and I'm going to go to Gizmo. Right, that Gizmo tool that it looks like the 3D pointers. I'm going to click on it, and you're going to see this transform menu pop up. It's going to be a different place on your screen. It's going to be wherever it last was. This is the most important menu in everything, in the whole tabletop simulator. In the whole of building stuff, this is the most important. Because it allows you to edit stuff sort of on that granular scale. It also allows you to circumvent the limits on, like, sizing up and sizing down objects. Okay, so we're going to click on this, and it says rotation, or it says position, and we're going to hit the X and Z to 0, and bam, now it is in the center of the table. And then we're going to Gizmo, and we're going to scale, and we're going to so I could just stretch this, not at all, right? Let me check something really quick. Oh, good, there we go. So it does project, the grid can project on it, so it does work as a base for our map, right? So scale, right click, and I could just stretch it to the edges of the table here, right? But let's stretch it all the way. Or I could just leave it as is, right? There's nothing wrong with there being a little bit of black space around the edges, but, like, it is undeniably sick nasty when your map covers them whole table. So I'm gonna do this, and it looks like this stretch, so it's a little bit under. So I'm just gonna there we go. And so now we have this big, beautiful map with a big stream running through the center of it. I think maybe it looks like a river like a crossing bridges would be cool. Because this is a 3D map base, one of the things is we can also change the scale of it up and down. So, like, I can take the scale, I can drag it up, and maybe move it up so it's not There we go. Move it up so it's all the. But now you'll see the nooks and like the 3Dness of it is more stark, right? Because the upward axis is stronger. There we go. Make the valley deeper, and that way, bam, we have to cross this river, and we have this one of water. Actually, we have water. Let me go over here. So generally, I would run like piece by piece. Also, thank you for asking for forests, because frankly, I haven't gotten to do a forest. We've been in a desert, and that means I haven't gotten to do forests. I haven't gotten to do snow. Okay, so actually, if we go over here, is there special blocks for just one specific custom object? Yes. Is it a custom object I love? Also, yes. Thank you, Grimnir Russ, for making this animated water thing. It looks so cool. And we can take this, make it a little bigger, lock it in place, and then we can change it to what kind of river do you want this to be? How fast the water moving? Frothy? Okay, let me see if we've got a frothy in this water set. All right, it's moving along. Moving along. A lot of these are kind of slow, but that's okay. Beach River, Leaf Swamp River, Moss Swamp River. A lot of these are pretty still water.
Oh no, never mind. We're making a swamp.
Oh hell yeah!
We're making a map for us.
It's so I love this object. It's just it makes everything look so cool. The secret of Tabletop Simulator is you can add every now and then you'll find objects and like if I add this, everything looks so unbelievably cool. And so you just drop this because it's just a water shader, right? Essentially, you just drop this here, and bam! If you zoom in close, you can see the water moving. Might be more visible if we had like a different kind of water, but like, and we can just ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da, ba-da-ba-da. It'll take some tweaking to get this like fully tiled out, or if we want to not mess with it anymore and we don't mind how big the leaves are, we can take this, we can just put it at 0, sir, and we can just stretch it all the way to the edges,
make the whole
make it like a big long swamp. Big long swamp water.
Hell yeah.
And maybe you'll notice how it's lighter over here. It's because it's a shader. So let's actually, it's at a weird rotation. It should be at 0s on most of its rotation axes.
Hey.
And then 90 here. And then there we go. We have this ominous lurking swamp water running over here.
Hell yeah.
I love that it moves. It's so cool. And if you don't want this ever to be anything other than swamp water, you can just hit reset and we're good. In fact, I might even just tweak the height of it a little bit. No. That's a river with leaves in it. This here's a swamp.
The black water.
It's so unsettling to look at. Maybe this is across the river because you don't want to go in the swamp. So if we're building a tree map, what was that?
Does the river have collision? Because if your model's sunk up to their waists in that would be fucking sick.
Let me double check. I think it should. It does have collision, I'm afraid. I mean, we have to physically be able to grab it.
Yeah, that's fair.
If you want to build me a custom shader object that doesn't have collision, anyone out there on the internet, I would be so grateful because it would mean that we got to sink waist deep in the water. The BattleTech people have made water tiles with water that lets you sink in, which is very cool. But I have that. Maybe it's dangerous to go in the swamp. We try not to. Let me check. It does have a form of grid projection, but it's not great. But it does look very strange. So here we have this water. maybe this is going to be a map about crossing a bridge, right? And again, that thing about 20 to 30 distance, like we don't want the area of combat to be outside of, say, here, let's mark it with a pen, right? We don't want the actual area of conflict to be anything outside of, say, about this far, and about, here, let me, 10, 15, about this far, right? So we want to, these are just like guidelines for me. We want the fight to actually take place in here, and so like we're gonna populate the rest of the map with stuff so it looks cool, but the actual fight will happen maybe right here across a bridge, right, or across a pair of bridges, because that's a lot of space, genuinely. Even though it kind of like when you're at this scale, right, when you're moving around sort of at this distance, it can look less. It's really helpful to I found it helpful to make those guidelines, those mark lines, so it's clear to me what area will actually be the fight. And we're gonna go over here, maybe to terrain and to nature, and we're gonna, I don't know, what do we want? Utah terrain, tundra terrain. So any of these objects.
Utah?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't
Utah.
want Utah, but I do want to know.
Utah.
So essentially a lot of people make different mods for Tabletop Simulator where they will take 3D objects from whatever, who knows, they fell off the back of a truck, and put them into Tabletop Sim for you to use, right? Which is awesome because it means Tabletop Simulator has this wealth of 3D assets for you to play with, because people very, very kindly and lovingly made them available to the community. And sometimes they're assets from Utah because that's the part of the biome they're in. Also, like, is there any biome on Earth that's like Utah? It's a very unique look, and I love Utah.
Utah's
terrain.
pretty special.
Utah's pretty special. I love how many unique biospheres we have in our beautiful country.
Bring out the mangroves.
What was that?
Bring out the mangroves.
The mangroves. Where's the mangroves?
I don't know. That's your job. I don't know what that's you have.
Let's see. I don't actually remember what mangroves look like. I'm sorry.
They're trees with stilt roots.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, yes. Let's check. So, like, essentially part of knowing this table is getting to know what each of these asset packs has in it. Let's check desert plants by SOT. Wait, not desert plants. There's got to be swamp plants in here. Because there's a whole swamp plant mod that SOT made. SOT is a person who makes mods on Tabletop Simulator full of assets, and I highly recommend their stuff. A lot of SOT stuff is not on this table, because it'll be on maybe the next map maker table I release. There we go. SOT plants and foliage. Let's search and let it chug for a second, because it has to load 260 objects. Yeah, this is the one with the fucked up plants we're the swamp plants we're looking for.
Can I just grab stuff from in here?
Yeah, just go for it. Go for it.
Oh, cool.
Ooh, a rib cage. My favorite plant, rib cage.
They do grow in swamps, it seems.
Yeah.
Shit.
No, you're good. You're good. Sometimes you pull objects out of these packs. I tried to reduce this. Sometimes they come out of the bag and they're so big. They're so cussing big. But like, listen, maybe this is a Hercynia style thing, and the trees are just 900 feet tall. There you go. And like, here's the secret: is that actually this is like a fun little 3D hobby project. Just like the design intent of it, right? This is supposed to be a fun little hobby project. And so each of these very striking 3D maps is like, oh, just playing a little game, have a little fun. Thank you. I'm constructing a sandwich while I talk.
I'm glad you're eating food. That's good for your bod.
I ran around. I'm sorry the stream is late, everybody. I ran around town so much today trying to get stuff, and my phone was also broken, so I couldn't like navigate by phone. So I had to navigate for real, and like this is difficult.
There may have been issues.
It is. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so these swamp trees. Yeah. Actually, while you're resizing stuff, let's mention over here. So over here, I have like each of these the default mechs by size specifically so that you can sort of place them on the map and get a site for it. But I've also got over here. This is about as far as my approximation goes, a person to scale. You may notice they're very small on this map. It's because it's a robot size map. Harvestman, I'm so glad that you're just diving in. It means I've done my job correctly. That's what we're hoping for. But so I try to essentially when I'm building maps, I try to size objects or buildings so that they are about person sized. Using this to check my scale, and it's not that trees can't be huge, right? Because giant trees are awesome, but like I try to make sure that like things like benches, like buildings, match approximately the scale of the same person, and that way there's a consistent sense of scale between maps. And also like one of the things I try to do, partially because of like conversations I had with Harvestman about mechs, is I try to find things that are of a recognizable scale, just something somewhat recognizable, and it place at least a few of them around the map, so that you feel the size of the giant robots. Just because I think they're cooler that way. I think they're more interesting and more beautiful. Gosh, I've been rambling for a hot second. Does anyone have questions in here or in chat? Does anyone have questions or thoughts on these things so far?
It rules. I'm looking forward to this. You did a bang up job.
That's very sweet.
Copying is a DM thing, but
that's very valid. One thing I will say, if you were placing this tree trunk were you placing this tree trunk to be a to act as like when you place objects you want them to stay, remember you can press L also. Is that a giant skeleton?
I do not have permission to lock, but
I will figure out permissions in a second. Permissions locking. There you go. Now you can cause real havoc.
Oh no!
Yay!
This is easier when you're just one person's doing it, just because like Tabletop Simulator has some limited permissions in places. Or if you're me, you've locked down your permissions pretty hard and you forgot. Whoops. I didn't lock them down that hard, actually. So I will say, like, if we wanted to use this tree branch as our bridge, right? I would be just real careful about using objects as places to stand. I would remember to check them. So, like, the first thing I would check is I right-click and I go toggles, grid projection. And it looks like this one does not accept grid projection. So it probably won't be a good, like, tree for us to walk across, right? If we want to use it as a branch. What the? Whoa! Hello. I'm sorry.
Where I had it was the idea was it was just like something that fell into the water and like.
Oh hell yeah!
But
also, now that you have locking permission, since we have stuff sinking into the water, you know the magical rule. You're not beholden to physics. If you want to lock that down, you can go to Gizmo and then go to like rotate or move, and you can just shove that part way into the water. Because like the world, objects are beholden to physics, but you as the person playing with it are not. And so you can just make stuff clip with each other by making it locked in place and not interact with physics, and like that shouldn't interfere with it at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was I thinking? Oh, that's what I was thinking. Okay, so let's say we were trying to cross a bridge. Let's look over in ruins and infrastructure. There's a lot of beautiful stalker objects that I haven't really dug into yet. Let me double check. Motor mouse, modular tiles, modular streets, modular neon terrain. Not what we're looking for. Cool. I have done my best to keep the terrain as little Warhammer-y as possible, but also like Warhammer folks make really beautiful ruins, so I want to make sure they were like available to play with. The misc stuff, so all this stuff is credited as much as possible because this project is old. Though some of these aren't as credited as they could be. So like if those objects break, I can't go find where they're from. But here's a little collection of bridges, right? There's this bridge. Do we like this bridge? Do we like this bridge?
Second bridge is more in tone. Third bridge is where it's at. Get that wood, baby.
This is true. It's a little bit wowy. I think by scale, it's a little surreal to have mechs on, but also like you can make giant stuff out of wood. Why not?
I think crossing the river should be a pain, and you should be able to take burn damage from the water.
See, that sounds sick. Hey, if you want burn damage from the water, you can also be like hazardous +2 burn on contact, and you can put that in the name of the water, and then whenever people mouse over the water, they see hazardous +2 burn on contact, and they know why we need to stay on the bridges. And I love that.
Rename it?
What was that?
Do you mind if I rename it?
Oh, you could. Yeah, you could. I renamed it just to demonstrate, but like, yeah, you can rename it if you'd like. All yours. Honestly, I might even recommend that second bridge that you liked because I have a theory about it. But first, we got to do the checks, right? Does it match grid projection? Okay, so it matches grid projection, so we can put people on it, right?
Yay!
We want it this way, and we want it plus. You can hold down the plus and minus keys to change size on stuff. If you want to get more granular, the gizmo tool lets you do that. But for now, like we can just make it, a little bigger and 3 wide. I'm gonna lock it in place, and then we're just gonna sink it into the earth, right? So it's. I'm like maybe this has been abandoned for a long time and it's a little bit buried it's a little bit dirty. The dirt is covering it up a little bit. It's just allowed to clip like this a little bit. Like don't worry about this stuff too much. We can tweak that later and we can add stuff around it to make it look cooler. But for now, like that's a bridge over the water. You want to put maybe a second bridge over this water? I have a theory about what if we make 2 bridges and make people fight across them. So there's the pit of burning waters in the middle, right? I just think it sounds neat, and also people will use the water more, or be in danger of getting ledged themselves more. I think that sounds fun. And we can do this if we wanted to align it with the hill. We could also tilt it. One of the gizmos tools is this little rotate. Let's slide this up a little bit. There we go. Also, because when they're at this a little bit of this odd angle, it adds more visual interest and angles to the map, which always looks cool. Also, if mechs are standing on these angled platforms, they visibly they'll be at an angle from one another, which looks hella cool. And tested models can stand on it, but don't worry about having stuff be at a weird angle. I think it looks sick. And let's leave our person scaler on here just so we can always remember how big these actually are.
Good.
Whoa.
That's a little bigger than I thought it would be. Nice catch.
Sometimes they're a little bigger than you think they'll be. But you can also remember A, if it flies off the table, don't worry, it'll come back. And B, you can always hit Control-Z if you drop something out of a bag and everything explodes. But also, that's a good reason to lock stuff down. The other reason to lock stuff down is if it randomly explodes. Oh, sorry. If it randomly explodes, now it won't go everywhere. I also wonder if we're approaching in right across this bridge. Maybe we're approaching to somewhere. We could grab let's see, Stalker Swamp / Garage Buildings. We could also open this pack and be like, what's in here? What's in these assets? Is there a freaky building we like. Maybe there's a bridge we like more. Or there's pipes here. What if there are fucked up runoff pipes coming out and spraying water everywhere? Sounds pretty nasty.
Not saying a Jurassic Park campaign would fucking rule, but a Jurassic Park campaign would fucking rule.
I think a Jurassic Park campaign would be so sick.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. But like maybe we're like, oh well, maybe there's been runoff, which is why it's like this, and we can put a pipe sort of emerging from the earth and running into the water over here, right? And maybe if we go down here, right, here's this little wooden shack. Maybe there's someone who's been living out of this wooden shack. We want to resize it so that it is the size of our person scale, right? Because then it becomes... That's a little too small. Come on up. Come on up. There we go. Jurassic Park... The other thing is just by playing and having fun making these little dioramas, these little maps, you come up with plot... I come up with plot ideas because, like, what if... Let me make sure that both these are locked. Lock these both. There we go. Oh. And like then you can put this little shack somewhere off to the side or somewhere else on the map. And even you don't mention it, like now, right now we have a context because this little shack, how huge this tree is, right? Now we have context. Looks like the clipping doesn't want to allow it, but we can just lock and drag it down. Thank you, sir. Now we have a context. If one of the giant robots stands over here, we suddenly have a context for just how big size 1 is, right? When we see this little shack. It's just little bits of like, as grace notes, as fun little things to add, like little bits of contextualization for the size of the robots is just fun and cool. It's just, it just makes things look good. But overall design. So we want to cross this bridge, right? We want to make a mission where we cross this bridge. I honestly recommend waiting to add little accoutrements and little like touches that make everything look cooler and more alive until after you get all of the mechanical goals done, right? Like if we're like, well, we think our players are going to enter from give me a green. Our players are going to be like, come on, don't lag. Are going to be like here. Sir, green. Thank you. And a lot bigger. All right. Let's say the player deployment zone is this circle, right? And they're trying to reach. Maybe they're trying to reach this circle, right? We can reach all those later, but like now, like, so they have to cross these bridges, right? They have to pick which bridge to cross. And we know that we're gonna place enemies along this bridge. Yeah, sure. We're gonna put some big boys on this bridge, right? You can even grab, like, you don't grab NPCs and drop them over here, but we're gonna place big boys on this bridge, right, to stop them from crossing. We're like, well, what other stuff do we need mechanically for this map to work? Do we need cover? Do we need, maybe we don't need cover. Maybe this is a cover-rich environment. What if there's a tree emerging on this little island in the middle here to stop lines of sight across the whole map? Like, what if we take one of these big trees? What was that?
I said I dig that.
So if we grab one of these trees, we resize it. Bam. And it also makes us feel in the forest, right? To have the forest growing all around us. We lock this down.
Stretch that up maybe a little bit.
What was that?
Make it a little taller, maybe?
Yeah. Oh, we can do that. No problem. No problem. I'm just trying to get it like centered on here. Yeah, maybe just straight up bigger. We can just bam, big old tree. Maybe even grab this, right? Because remember, we have the power of the gizmo tool. We can just make it as tall as we want. A very tall tree. You'll notice
too much.
It looks a little goofy and stretched out like this, right? But like you can just change your physics objects to look however you want them to look, right? A little taller, and we can also like drag this up. I'm gonna try and make this so that it clips beneath all the it clips beneath the map. That way, it looks like it's emerging from the soil, right? So like make sure like that you can just really play that edge real close. And bam, we have this big beautiful tree. Let me see, make sure that all the collisions work. Models can move across this bridge. Thank you, tree, for having nice collisions. Brought makes sense to do that. And to make sure, right, you'll notice this tree now looks a lot like this tree. Like it's clear that they're the same object. Are you ready? How to make objects look separate even though you don't have many assets? It's gonna be really complicated. You ready? Here for to solve the complex puzzle?
Let's go.
Here's the solution. You do this and that's a different tree. You just spin it a little bit and it looks like a completely different tree.
We love rotation.
And we love rotation. And also the more times you can avoid, like the more you can avoid making a million different objects, the better it will be to load, right? Like Tabletop Simulator is, again, 12-year-old software, really not intended for this. Like it doesn't like loading a lot of complicated objects. So if you can keep it as simple as possible, that's great, right? And now look, we've got this big wobbly tree in the center here, sort of leaning off to the side. It blocks line of sight because if we draw a line of sight by what we can see, right, if you're on the middle of this bridge, you're kind of blocked from the people on the other side of this bridge. So you physically can't see them, which is so sick. That's so cool. I love this. I love it because you want to block line of sight so that it makes it interesting for the melee users because they get to calculate, like if there's a sniper on one of these bridges, they get to calculate navigating around being out of line of sight of them. You get for the people who have ranged weapons, they get to sort of negotiate where they are. Even for the people who fly, right? This tree is really tall, so figuring out a good place to fly up to get the right firing angle is an interesting puzzle. Lancer secretly creates interesting puzzles on its own. Okay, so this approach, this is probably good enough, right? And then essentially from here, adding additional trees, adding additional things, and it just looks cooler and cooler. In fact, since we're in a swamp, I would like to share with everyone the good word of the rolling fog cube. The reason every Lancer map, like the reason Divine Art of Kings, it was a running joke that we used the rolling fog cube, is because the rolling fog cube takes us from like this, which looks pretty cool, to like a thing with depth of field and ominousness. Let's see, do we want gray rolling fog? Do we want green rolling fog? Because it's a swamp?
Green!
Let's try green. You know, we've been in the sand so long. Let's try green.
I'm very excited for green.
The rolling fog cubes are beautiful. Don't pay attention to the center part. Don't worry about it. We'll fix that in a second. We're going to lock this in place, and bam, suddenly all of our models have this, like, suddenly there's this, like, rising noxious fumes coming off of the water, and, like, it's a little harder to see. Let's bring this cube up a little bit. So
it's a lot more visible on your end. For some reason, it's not showing up for me at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. I just think my settings are funky.
It's also, it's not as visible right now. Let's bring up this fog cube. You see how the fog, if you look at the edge of the bridge on my stream, but just generally, you'll see the fog sort of rolling up through those grates. Now that it's across this level, like, you can see it sort of around the feet of these other mechs. This will be much more visible with the black background on the table. But, like, it has a real effect. It causes, because, right, when you look at someone, they're through more fog, it also causes this depth of field effect, where the ones that are close to you can see really clearly, and the ones that are farther away, you're like, oh, it's through this miasma over the fog. And the rolling fog cube is secretly the thing that makes, like, sort of meh Unity rendering look sick as hell. And what you can do is you can just place these fog cubes just sort of along the place. And then we're going to take them. So this would be at the end of map creation. Like I add fog cubes last after I prettify everything. But we're working through it. We take the fog cubes, we change the color, and we just turn the alpha to 0. And suddenly, if they don't get janky on me, they shouldn't be visible. But they've gotten janky on me. But that's fine. We'll deal with that later. But there we have the rolling fog cube, and also like now if we look across, like I can hear the dripping and the call of distant insects from this fog, right? And this is before we add those other trees. This is just rolling across the banks. And then if we're like, well, let's just add, another couple big boys, another couple big boy trees around the place, making sure not to mess up the map too bad. Doodaloo. And then we can just, we can grab them, we can bring them down.
This river crossing thing, do we know where it was ripped from?
Unfortunately, I do not.
That's all good.
But if it's very familiar, you might have it. Rotate her a bit. I'm just tilt it up. Not a lot, but these ones have stuff drop on them. But like it can be a fun game to hunt. Like, I know I recognize that bridge. Where is it from? Some of these that's easier to spot. Like but it can be a fun challenge. And now we're in this forest and this miasma, and like we didn't do many steps, right? But this hasn't been a big hullabaloo very much, other than me like explaining it. We have this like, ignore the fog keeps not dying properly, but not becoming invisible. But like, this is a cool forest map where we have to cross this bridge and we're getting ambushed, right? I think it is very easy to make things look super cool. But also you see why I spent like hours at a time tweaking maps, because it's just kind of fun. It's just the hobbyist urge to just tweak it a little bit. Just add a little thing over here, another little thing over there. I do think Lancer Jurassic Park would be so sick.
Spared no expense.
Spared no expense.
I just think that the mechs should fight dinosaurs.
Hey, there's a whole NPC template for kaiju.
Yes.
That like has a million different forms. Like, besides the fact that you can just take any of the base NPCs and add kaiju templates to them, right? And just flavor them differently. There is also a special like NPC kaiju.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
One of the optional systems lets it eat minions for health.
That's so sick. Okay, if we resize this, right? Maybe this was part of this metal shack was part of the facility, right? And we can even like tuck this here. Hold on, let me lock it down. There we go.
When you have a second, I have a stupid question.
Yeah.
Who took the Nern root out of the plants bag?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, I was going to use it for environmental storytelling. Like, this crawling skeleton was going to be inches away from it.
That's so good. I didn't take it out of the bag intentionally. But also, because these are infinite bags, if you don't find an object that you're looking for, you can reach in, you can just grab a second bag of plants and foliage. It's specifically designed so that, like, any of the objects out here, you're free to just pull stuff out, delete it, put it back, and you'll still have that, and you'll still have all the assets. You won't lose anything because they're on these bags around the table that you can just grab infinite of.
Oh my.
Oh my god, it's jumping. It's jumping. Lock it in place and then move it around.
I can't. I have no access to copy, transform, or...
Some of those here, let me promote you real quick. Like, that'll help a little bit. Yeah, promote. But some of the functions that we're going to use here are things that like only the host can do, unfortunately. Also, hey, it's at a weird angle, but you can just click on it with your gizmo tool, go to rotation, and just set it to 0 on all the things, and then it'll be at its default rotation. Bam. And you can rotate it however you want. Bam. Oh. I'm sorry, I have to add little facility things. I just think they're neat. I just think they're neat. Like maybe there was a watch point here at the edge of the thing. Also, if you have someone running around on foot, one thing, the stalker buildings that someone's I'm gonna get their username and actually say it. The Domagorov has been uploading these like really awesome stalker assets. to the workshop that all have multiple states. So like you can have right. We have this cool little building. We can also set it to this state where you can see the inside. So like you can have someone run. If you have someone on foot, they can run into this building. And then we can run around. Inside this building. By the way, if you want the part where it disappears for a second because it has to load again to not happen, if you just have both states on the table, then this transition becomes like smooth and instantaneous because it doesn't have to load the thing again.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
Doesn't always work perfectly, but bam, we have this little table. And if you're smooth, we can just come on. This one might be a little janky because it's a very small building. No, ma'am. Well, I mean, listen, and again, if things aren't cooperating, you are more than welcome to just lock them and just tug them around. Now she's in the building, right? This, by the way, is an infinity miniature. I highly recommend them for like if you have like troops or characters that are on foot. In your Lancer scenes that are like special characters, and you have the extra energy and time to find a fun infinity model that fits their look. It looks so unbelievably cool, and it's so like having a very rendered on foot person means that all of your mechs look cooler because it's possible to see the scale right with a semi-realistic looking human person. Also, the Infinity people do amazing painting work, and I love them. So, thank you, Infinity community. We love you. But yeah, I love that people are enjoying this enough that they're like, no, I gotta dive in. I gotta manhandle it. It's time.
Gotta manhandle.
And just like I built this for myself, right? Originally, like because I wanted to build maps like this, and sort of through trial. Like a lot of this is designed through trial and error, right? You just using this to build all these maps. I've figured out a lot of things about how to make these. I'm actually gonna delete these bridges because we don't need anything more else from the bridge bag. But yeah, like it's a lot of fun to play with, and I think the joy of play of making a fun little map gets a lot easier when instead of also it being like the more difficult part of hunting for the assets, instead if you just have like I've sometimes compared CompCon to like playing with like a box of candy. Like I walk through the candy shop in CompCon, I walk through the NPC roster and just pick things off the shelves that look fun to me, and like that's how I build encounters. Now you get to build astoundingly gorgeous 3D maps the same way, right? And like everything else that's not these parts of the map is set dressing, right? Where the combat itself is going to take place across these bridges, but like that doesn't matter because it looks so sick, and we're so much in the environment and in the world, which is it's cool and fun. Yeah, I don't know anything else.
Penn stepped away for a moment.
Mm-hmm. Harvest, do you have notes?
Something that irks me very, very specifically is that the bridges have guardrails and people cannot be knocked off.
I mean, if they're mechs, you can just throw people through them. Those are person guardrails. That's not reinforced armor plating.
Well, there you go.
By my rulings, that's a guide, not a wall, and you can just grab people and ram them and or push them through it. You could even be like, if you want to do right, you could like railings do not stop movement, and put that in the as the name or in the description of the thing, and that way, like if you hold. If you place your mouse over and you just leave it for a second on the bridge, it just says railings do not stop movement, which like also both a mechanical ruling and a fun implication of things that you could do to people, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm like, because these tools are so flexible, it's really easy to get a lot of them very fast. Oh, those are the, look at them beautiful leaves. I think those are designed to cascade down a wall.
Mm-hmm.
But tell you what, we have those leaves designed to cascade down a wall. We can grab. Let me see. Let me grab.
I was just struggling to grip them. I have a very specific thing I'm trying to do with them.
Oh, never mind. And like you can, I find often it's much easier to make a cohesive looking map if you take ones from similar asset packs, right? Like if you're like, well, but all the buildings are from the Stalker buildings, they'll have a similar look just because like they were made for one thing. By the way, shout out also to Grimnir Russ for getting models from the mech game Phantom Brigade, and also, my god, shout out to the Phantom Brigade people. You have made such cool models.
I did get back into that. It's so fun.
It is so fun. It's a good game, Brent. It's such a good game. But also, they have made these beautiful buildings that, for the purposes of their tactics game, are these beautiful squares that can intersect easily to build maps. And guess what? That also is what we're doing here. So it works out. Oh, mwah, c'est magnifique. Also, the way Grimnir Rust added these, some of these, like the glow pylons and the and the lamps are actual light sources. Thank you, Grimnir. We love you. That means that like if your giant robot is close to it, like your giant robot will have light cast on it, like this railing is right now. I feel like we're imitating like the beginning of the Xbox 360 era visually in terms of like visual fidelity, but listen, it looks sick. It looks sick. Also, hello. I think I hear Marsiment with us again. Marsiment,
yes,
do you have any thoughts or notes or requests?
Nope. I had to think about it, but I don't. It's honestly pretty straightforward in terms of like the stuff, and that's cool.
That's the goal. I think I have this thing about mech media where sometimes it appears kind of impenetrable because it is trying to be interesting and mysterious, and it is interesting and mysterious, but it gets there by being kind of impenetrable. And I think it should be more. I'm gonna stop this sentence now. I think that they're finding ways to communicate like the ways that it is accessible are good. It's hopefully it's pretty straightforward, and like you notice like me and Harvestman were just like fiddling with objects for the last like what it's not even been a full 45 minutes. And we have this cool map now, right? We have this like really visually striking, dramatic-looking map. It's very easy to build these. I will probably this custom map whenever we finish it at whatever point. If Harvestman is happy, also sharing it, we'll probably go with the custom maps that you have access to. Because we love expanding, right? And then that means because these maps are so easy to make, that also if you make a bunch of them and you share them with the community, then it means that if you're a GM, you can just load this like gorgeous, complex 3D map, right? Because they're really easy to make, and I love inviting people to make cool stuff. I love it when folks have the tools they need to explore creative avenues. I think building maps in Tabletop Simulator, I really found my love for like designing maps, both in the like logistics, how do we build an interesting encounter way, and in the like visually striking, how do we build stuff to interact with way, right?
Yeah,
also,
totally.
I realize currently there's nothing on these bridges, and I realize that kind of means we've created a big piece of cover in the middle and firing lanes down the sides. Maybe a fully finished map. There would be like a wrecked car on one of these, and like a burnt out facility or something, like, or a piece of wreckage, or maybe like an overgrown tree, like at the end of one of these, right, to produce that extra cover, just for thoroughness sake. But like, it's fun making maps.
What I was thinking was one of the bridges might be sunk, so like at a 15-degree angle, and like have a normal mech's worth of jump there at the end, but it would have a boulder like chilling there for cover for the end of that run.
I love this. Just like here, let me.
Anyway, but
Yeah, I love this. Yeah. So and to do that, right? It's very simple, right? We just tilt it down, tuck this down. That's so ominous as it just vanishes into the slowly fades into the muck.
We love a slow fade into the muck.
And hear me out, right? If you're gonna handle an object, you know the clipping's gonna be dubious. You can just start by locking it.
oh yeah,
And
I'm just
then,
trying
like-
to find a good starting point to move it, because once you start moving it, it gets a little finicky.
I try to move stuff at 0, when I can. But also, if you swap between, like if you just like pop into rotate and go back to move, it'll try to align your little like pull levers. Go ahead. It's all yours. I love the idea that the rock just like came down and smashed it. Like where did the rock come from? What happened here to this?
It's a rock. It's fine.
It's a rock, Dave. Let me actually. Is it okay if I fiddle with a bridge a little bit more so the end looks fancier?
Like, none of this needs to be treated as like permanent and unassailable.
Oh no, it's good. I just want to tweak the bridge a little bit so that the end lines up, so that it looks like one side like was functional at one point, and things have happened to its TM. There we go.
That's not wrong.
And like even though this is like imperfectly clipping, right? It does look like it's like a little bit buried by the dirt, especially at this distance. You can't tell, and also you don't care. I love that rock. That's beautiful. Yeah,
this is a good time.
And also, hey, I can tell what hex the burn begins on because if I mouse over it, I can tell when the stagnant water becomes visible, right? Because when I'm mousing over it, at some point when I mouse over it, I reach a certain point and my mouse lights up with the warning. And also, like, I could draw that on there if I wanted to, right? I could be like, no, don't go in here. This is where the stagnant water starts. Whoa. This is where the stagnant water starts, right? But I don't need to if I don't want. If I'm willing to let it be a little bit fuzzy, then it just looks sick as hell. And alarming. The smog and the burn from the water is alarming. I love it. I loved also the bones rising out of the lake. Very spooky.
Obviously, whatever is happening here is good and
good and healthy.
Good and healthy. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, like, and you notice, like, because of the nature of this, like, we have this looks like very intensely rendered 3D map. It's very easy to just do little tweaks, or like, hey, can I get a once over? I bet there should probably be more cover there. Smack that on there.
Just smack it.
Just do a swamp. By the way, there's a whole vehicles and scatter terrain, which like you kind of want to interact with this tab and this tab last. This shelf and this shelf last. Just because like right, you want to fill out your map and then put scatter on there. Like here's vehicles that were in the Stalker mods. Maybe there's just this burned out truck like in the middle here. Actually, we can toggle. This is a fun thing to look at. Toggle grid project, and we can angle that truck so that it's. Come on, sir. Hold on. We're gonna do the fun thing, and we're gonna L for lock. Bring it down until the tires are there. Here's this wrecked truck, and we can rotate it so that it's in line with the hex grid, right? So it fits, so it's clear what it does. And move it up. And maybe it is rammed into that railing right there, right? Like something happened and it swerved into a wall. And we can right click and we can name it hardcover. I think this is something like people were joking about first session of Lancer. We're like, why are all the cars labeled cover? I don't get it. Surely everything will be fine. Right, we can take this truck, we can label it hardcover. Also, it's kind of going through the railing a little bit. Not that, like, people are going to notice that much, but, like, that's maybe an indicator that these railings not going to hold a giant robot if it tries to push its way through.
Yeah.
Also, this is a truck. It's a person-sized object. We get to grab our size reference. Oh, ma'am, are you? Oh, thank you very much for your assistance, ma'am. And we get to resize this, right? To be her scale, and then that way it's another way of showing the scale. And then we have this sort of limited piece of cover we can drop. Let's further up the bridge a little bit. Also, we put it here right next to this pylon. It looks like the door is partially askance because of the way that it hit the side of the bridge, which rocks, which is a little bit of like visual storytelling that I did intend. It does look a little small. Hold on. Tweak. You may notice that a lot of this is gonna be about sort of pedantic tweaking, but also once it finally gets there, it looks so sick. Right now we have this truck, right, that sort of swerved and smashed into this pylon, and then when we have a size 1 robot taking cover behind it, we're like, oh, I see how big the robot is. I know what a truck is like, right? I see where the person's supposed to sit. I can tell how big this chain gun robot is taking cover behind this wrecked truck. That's very exciting, right? Like, sometimes I will build maps just for funsies and be like, oh, this suggests a narrative that's really cool that I want to explore. Yeah, there we go. That's it. There it is. I think that there's like, that's what we're building on the map side. I've said open house for questions a couple times. I want to ask, do we want to talk builds? Like, do we want to talk making, designing encounters, designing combat encounters, designing NPC lists?
Yes.
I think it's something we've mentioned
Absolutely.
a couple times. I'm going to pull up CompCon. I'm going to add it to the stream. Give me one moment to make a little additional display capture, window capture.
I was seriously looking at the support class just to do a little funny. I don't think it would actually be broken or like too much for a gaming party, but I do think something regaining 5 HP would make noses wrinkle in a way that would just crack.
I love my experience with Lancer NPCs is finding out that every single one of them can really just mess with your whole day. I don't want to put. I gotta figure out how to put CompCon visible, but also not interrupt the cool map times, because I think they're really great. Here, I'm gonna resize CompCon the window so that we can be visible but not cover up the map. Yes. Yeah, sure. Why not? After all, why not? Let me close this window really quick. There we go. That way we can see the map itself being played with and worked on while we talk about CompCon mostly. Okay, so let's talk about building an encounter, because I think there are. I have turned on so many things. There will be things in my NPC roster that are not core. We do not need to talk about the number of, most of these were individual things for Divine Right of Kings. Don't worry about it. I'm going to hit add to NPC, and we're going to talk about these NPCs. Wait. I must show my allegiance. Please excuse me. Okay, there we go. All right. I gotta do signaling. Anyway, so here's the secret. We've talked about how do you build an NPC roster, and there is a thing in Lancer about try not to do all strikers, right? Because some people make the mistake, they're coming from D&D, they're like, what's the basic guy? I just want to field the basic guy. And they're like, okay, I have fielded a team of 6 assaults. and everyone died instantly, and I don't understand what was like, and it wasn't interesting, right? They just all shot each other, and then some of us fell over.
I have more to say on that, if you don't mind.
Please.
So, the thing about the assaults also is that they're unspecialized. Like, they're all-rounders, so they are decently good in every situation. And a lot of gaining an advantage in Lancer, in my experience, is finding your enemy's weaknesses and then aligning your strengths to take advantage of that. So strikers or assaults just kind of throw that out the window and it's a shooting match, like you were saying.
Flatly, I think assaults are best as super scary advanced troops to show up. If you're like, I want things to get real, that's when I start placing assaults, because I think they're much more interesting sort of in that role. Because you're like, oh, I'm fighting trained soldiers now. But the secret of building any Lancer comp, I think, at a very basic level, right? We're not getting advanced. We're like, here's how you just build a basic combat. I really like, there's artilleries, there's controllers, there's defenders, strikers, and supports. I think you could build a good Lancer comp. Now, the rule is you want to have about 1.5 times as much structure as your players, right? So if you have 4 players, you want to have about 6 guys, right? Pick 3 different NPCs from among different classes. So like have an artillery, a controller, and a defender, or have a controller and a defender and a striker, right? Pick one from each category, and just that will probably produce an interesting fight. That will be fine for balance. I think if you're just starting out, that'll be fine for learning to control them, because I think like the Tom special that people talk about, which I think it's good, right? Involves learning 4 sets of moves. But if you have 6 guys and you only, in each of them there's 2 copies of each guy, that's only learning, you only have to learn the mechanics for 3 guys, right? And what they want to do. And I think another thing, it's book content, so we're not supposed to look at it. Let's just oh, that doesn't work either. But like also each NPC tells you what they do. So like NPCs have extra stuff they can take, but I genuinely think if you're starting out, if you're learning to run the game, if your players are learning to run the game, don't add any of the optional systems, because the NPCs as they're built, like I don't know, what's a good example? I don't know.
The sniper.
The sniper. Let's talk about the sniper. The sniper's a really good example because he's so far out. We're not going to talk about the individual mechanics, perhaps, as our compromise. Let's do this. Let's do the. There we go. We see the CompCon list, but we don't see the thing. The sniper in specific, right? Sniper does one job. It makes people hit cover or take structure damage from its shots. It's very scary, and you know, as the GM, you're like, oh, it's the sniper. That's the thing it does, right? It wants to sit at a distance and plank away at you. Under each NPC, it says tactics. That tells you what the NPC wants to do. Also, the fluff for the NPCs is on the NPC models at default, because I think that's fun. Adds flavor. But the tactics will tell you what an NPC wants to do. Usually an NPC at tier 1 at base has like 3 to 5 things that it does, right? And that's actually not that many things for you to remember. And once you read the tactics, you can understand what each of those 3 to 5 things, what it's for, right? And yeah. So just pick out, let's say you want a sniper. Let's add sniper. Here, let me go Tabletop Simulator really quick. I'm going to search the Lancer mod just so I can pull out the models themselves. So let's say we want a sniper. Give me the sniper. I'm going to pull out the sniper as a bag because it includes the bits, but also includes the guy. There we go. So here's the sniper. What's another NPC we like, or how about this? For this group of people that are blockading the bridge, what's another like vibe you want? Marsiment, if you would.
Would be great for us.
Give us a sec.
Oh,
you're correct. But I want to give like Marsiment, if you feel like it. What's another like? Do you want to add a controller, a defender, a striker, or a support to our like
I
bridge
do love
choke
a
point?
control.
A controller. We love a controller. And then like the only complicated this has to be, like, what kind of control do you like? Do you like, let me scroll up here and see what the controllers we have on our menu. Again, it's like going through the secret is that, like, instead of stress, once you have like actually just pick one guy from each category, it's kind of like walking through a candy shop and picking the things you want off the off the list. This, by the way, this list is extra long. I have a bunch of extra mods installed. That's why Living Battlefield is here under an NPC. Don't worry about it. That's Iridia stuff. It's super normal on Iridia, and also it's so cool, and we love them. Iridia is where a lot of our like really important NPCs came from. But let's see. How about you've dealt with archers, right? The ones that like pin people down. I think archer and sniper might be a bit just redundant in their like in kind of their vibes, what they do.
What's a firebug?
What's a firebug? Anything above the archer, that's extra stuff we don't need to touch.
Okay, we won't look at those. Okay.
I'm sorry. Are more than half the NPCs from somewhere else? Yes, don't worry about it. It all started when I was like, we need Lofton to have guys that can fly in and pounce, and someone was like, you should try this one, and now I have a bunch of like first party content. Essentially, the way I run my table, like, players have access to all first party content, but me, the GM, I want to run the third party content. Y'all built me an NPC that does the Baylor thing. I needed that to run the Maw. So okay, there's archers, barricades. What vibe do you want? We have like covering fire. We have like
cover.
They build cover. We have like nanite swarms. There should only be one nanite swarm in NPC. That's why I have so many expansions, because I need to find everyone who's ever had that idea and pick and choose. We have you saw a hornet when you fought Tabitha. Tabitha was running with, I believe, a hornet. Which like it flies around and pesters people and does a bunch of debuffs to them. Cedars do landmines. You fought, I think, cedars in the house guard.
Oh, sure, okay.
We all know what a witch is. By its name, we know to fear it. Also, I mean, hear me out. A witch in this environment could grab people and throw them into the water.
I'm kind of eyeing witch. Just
don't do that. No, you don't do that to start players.
Is this a starting players map? My bad.
Here's the thing: you can do that to starting players because the witch has 4 effects, and you learn really quickly that they need to die. This is like this would be an all like flimsy but needs to die map. Enemies comp, but like that's fine.
Let's do cedar because then you can put mines on the bridge, and that sounds funny.
And there it like that is that's the energy that you should have as you build Lancer comp. Is like, wait, this synergy sounds like a meme. So let's go search our mod, search the Lancer mob, grab cedars, and this bag will include both the model for the cedar themselves and little things for all their different little landmines. They can have so many different kinds of landmines. There we go. Let's see. And let's have like 2 cedars. Bam. Wha-bam.
Mars, you're evil.
Yeah.
And for our final class, let me tab back. For our final class, we have an artillery and a controller. Do you want a defender? Do we want a striker? Do we want a support?
What are you thinking, Harvestman?
No, I'll leave this one up to you. I was really biased with the last one, and I ended up with a fucking cedar. So
You're allowed to be I mostly just wanted to give Marsiment a chance to to choose them for themselves. To choose for we'll make sure everyone had a hand in it. So that it's everyone's
choices.
Fault. But remember, they're not things can go wrong choices. You're running through a candy shop pulling stuff off the shelves. Like that's the overriding vibe of playing of like building Lancer NPC comps.
So okay,
Blackbeard Scourers are quite good.
God. As much chemical weapons as possible, sir. No, that's too few chemical weapons. I need more.
If I hate Blackbeards?
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. We can get the biomech NPC, the biomecha cedars. They're really scary looking. Maybe these guys, they look much more normal. I'm getting, and also like you can get a vibe narratively from this, right? Like this is a Spec Ops team who sets a minefield around its snipers, like they are area control specialists.
Yeah. I mean, we should probably, I think some sort of striker would be good, just because we could also try doing defender, but having defender and minefield guy at the same time for bridge battle sounds...
I mean, there are defenders that'll work great with that.
Yeah.
Right? That's the question, are you trying to hold the bridge? Are you trying to shoot them off the bridge? What are the NPCs trying to do?
I mean, I assume stop them from crossing.
Right, exactly, right? And well, and that's a... And here's the trick that I think works really well in Lancer. That comes down to a narrative choice, right? Is the opposing force trying to rock? Sorry, a rock appeared. Is the opposing force trying to just gun them down? Is the opposing force trying to hold this position? Like, this decision of like, well, do I have a support to sort of take care of my guys? Do I have a defender to protect them? Do I have a striker to just like gun them down, but sacrifice defense and protection for it? Changes the vibe of that opposing force significantly, right?
This is true.
Like if they're I don't know, space dinosaur poachers, maybe they bring a striker. Maybe they're all about like hit and run tactics. If they're like corpo security forces, maybe they bring something big and gnarly and impassable to sit on those bridges so you can't get across them.
Yeah.
Oh, any option is good.
What's the... Oh no, I don't remember what Sentinel is. I remember.
Yeah! Also, defender doesn't mean like big hairy guy. Like Sentinel... we love a Sentinel. Like defender can mean anything that controls a zone. So like the Sentinel is a guy with a shotgun that holds a zone really effectively, right? And on these thin like 3 space long bridges, Sentinel's gonna matter, right?
Yeah.
You are going to be in threat. So
I mean, I assume that they're basically trying to do like a point hold, and they don't really like care what happens besides they hold their point.
Exactly, right? Well, that's the other thing, right? Is that like each of these NPCs, because Lancer loves you back, each of these NPCs is balanced in such a way that like you can treat it like a candy shop, because you don't have to be like, well, but will it be balanced? Because the NPCs are designed in such a way that they are an interesting combat puzzle each one, and in combination, right?
Yeah.
The snipers are a combat puzzle to close with them, or somehow shut down the sniper rifle. And so, like, yeah, what do you want? The Sentinel's a different combat puzzle. You could bring the Pyro and just set the fucking bridge on fire. You could, like again, also, defenders include Pyro. Like, don't worry. Defenders aren't, like, normal. There is, the fact that they're, like, there is no normal NPC in Lancer. People say Assault's the normal NPC. Assaults are crazy. Assaults are so scary. Like, Assault is like, oh, the commandos are here. Like from that one movie, I should leave. Because they just output so much damage.
What's Demolisher?
Demolisher, we love Demolisher. Demolishers are,
Eleanor.
Eleanor brought a Demolisher to the first fight.
Okay.
Demolishers are big hammer guys, but listen, big hammer cool.
I think we should. I want big hammer guy.
Oh, Jesus
Let's do it.
fucking Christ. You are...
And hear me out. No matter what NPC you pick, that will be the sensation. And that's because it's a good game.
What were you going to choose?
I wasn't going to choose anything. It's just the Demolishers have resistance to melee damage, and also their super heavy hammer has threat 3 and stuns on a hull fail.
Listen, I just think that
They hold that bridge real good.
I just think that there should be a little bit of concern about what if they hit with hammer too hard and bridge fall.
Oh, I love this. I love this mechanic. I feel like the current map is a little bit. It's like it's gonna be hard to do that, right? To destroy the map, the bridge dynamically, but also like hell yeah.
No, like I don't necessarily think that it should be something that can happen. I just want that to be a concern that might come across someone's mind.
I mean, listen, and if you're running this encounter, you could just like blow up the bridge, right? Like you can just delete the bridge, and suddenly the bridge is gone, and we have to deal with that, right? Dynamically. And I love this also because and so now, right? If we have common wisdom is you try not to out action economy the players, right? I generally try to avoid that too, but like you could like, I don't know, maybe they're on different bridges, right? Or you have the snipers not super take action unless someone's in their range of motion. Or the demolishers come in slowly so that it doesn't feel like the players are being out action economy, because what the demolisher did with its turn was move 3 spaces.
Yeah.
This is a thing that like you can finesse as a GM. That I've done a couple times, both well and not well. It's a learning process, as everything is, but you know.
Yeah.
But like, and now like, hey, we just grabbed 3 random NPCs off the shelves that we thought were cool, that we thought would be cool in this environment, and now we have like, this is a cool opposing force, right? They have to navigate they have mined the bridge, and at the end of the mined bridge is this big man with a hammer, and while they cross the bridge, they have to do it under sniper fire. Like, that's an interesting puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
Another important thing, cover and rewarding movement, especially like flying, is solely up to the environment. Like having, I moved here, and the reason I added these rocks was I thought the idea that both snipers could cover both bridges was a little much.
That's a little
so
much.
Having like as much noise in between them as possible seemed ideal.
Obviously, the correct choice for the team, not the NPC team, but the player team, is that everyone should just pilot a Duskwing all of the time, just fly over the bridge, fly over the river like a mile away.
And hey, if you have a bunch of Duskwing players and you want them to have to like, and there is a thing in here, right? Because Duskwing, we saw what happened when a Duskwing encountered Rainmakers, right? It was a bad time. You can, because Lancer is so much of Lancer is about like managing the interesting combat puzzle of opposing weaknesses and strengths. You could build an NPC comp that just killed your players, right?
Yeah.
Don't do that, right?
That doesn't sound fun. Now
that you've built this, right? This interesting puzzle, like, this is a cool and interesting game we're playing. Also, because, like, the Cedar has mines that throw people into the water. And throws people into the water, and once they're in the water, it can be, say, slowing, maybe, I don't know. And they're suddenly in range of the sniper on the other bank of the water. Slowed, burned, under sniper fire, without cover, right? And that's a very bad situation, but also an interesting situation that we can problem solve. Like, Lancer, the NPCs, I think because the NPCs are paid content, so we don't, I think, talk about them in depth, how to use them, it sometimes misses the fact that, like, actually, this game is very easy to build for in a lot of ways, and helps you learn how to build it. I know, yeah. I love this encounter. Listen, if there are streams where we just build cool Lancer encounters, I think that would be sick. I would also, like, listen, maybe we just finish building the 3-shot, right? We finish building the other 2 fights because Lancer really likes it when there's 3 fights in a row. We built a plot around it about the cool dinosaurs. We build our cool dinosaur fight at the end, and that's a Lancer fight, and that's it, right? We've done a sizable chunk of the work already, and we did it in like an hour and 15, right? Lancer is actually quite easy to run. For all that it looks very complicated. A lot of the GM side tools, like, I think I didn't expect it to happen because I got so accustomed to things being so difficult. Because, like, in a lot of systems, like, an NPC is really not that different from a player. Like, some of the abilities might be more complicated, but overall, really an NPC is not that different from a player in terms of how you interact with them mechanically, right? Mm-hmm. And so you'd encounter these NPCs that had, like, 12 different effects, and I'm like, I don't have the cognitive energy to do this, you know?
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just like, I think that, like, there's
I also like things that are named after the thing they do. That's all.
Yeah! Yeah! Lancer NPCs are really good at, like, hi, I'm Guy with Hammer. I'm here to do Guy with Hammer and Guy with Hammer adjacent. Like, I do Guy with Hammer and Guy with Hammer accessories. Like, that's what that is. And, like, the optional systems on the NPCs are fun, but they are modifiers to a kit that does what it says it does on the tin, so that you, as the person running it, even if you're not the most versed in, like, how these systems might add to each other or interact, can be like, oh, I bet a guy with a hammer could block the people dealing, like, could stand between the guy with the sniper rifle, and it would be fun, right? And that would be a fun challenge. And lo, it is once it hits the table, even if you're learning how to run sniper rifle and guy with hammer reflexively as you play. Also, yeah, thank you, Harvestman, for dyeing it. Can I show you a secret trick that makes this much easier?
Do you select all of them?
Yeah, you just control-click on all of them, and then you can change the tint, and then they'll all be the same color. Easy peasy. And I love that they're murky. But yeah, there you go. That's what it is to build a Lancer encounter. Because I think it's daunting, right? The big list. I mean, my list is about 2/3 as long, but like 2 or 3 times again as long. But like the there's a long list of NPC classes, and that's kind of daunting. It's kind of right, and I think, but I've never run a game with giant robots before. That can be kind of daunting. But it is very straightforward, and it is very friendly, and like that's why I wanted to work so hard to build. That's why I did so much complex thinking on how to build a simple table. Like building tables should be fun and cute and interesting, and like not a stressor. It should be a fun little game. And like building NPC comps, it should feel like walking through a candy store and picking out the ones you want. Like it's so much fun. I didn't do it on purpose with the Rainmakers. We just kind of ended up in a kill box, and then everyone went into the box and was like, okay, we all walked into the kill box. Oh no, this one's especially bad for one of us in particular. I didn't plan that, but I guess that's happening today.
It was good. It was good, you know. Ted needs to get structured once. It's good for him.
Well, I think, like, it's okay for your NPCs to be especially challenging for one team member.
Yeah.
Every now and then, because that means that, like, the team decision is to protect that person by clearing those enemies off the board, right? Like, and that's, again, sorry, this is a thing. So you usually run very narrative heavy system like games, right? I find that in Lancer's tactical combat in particular, regularly, constantly, NPC choices are mechanical in combat choices become character choices. I think it's one of the things that's really striking about Lancer in particular is that it's really clear, like, right, if I overcharge every turn, you know what kind of person I am. You know what kind of pilot I am. I'm willing to drive myself to the edge of destruction to get the thing done as best as possible, right? Versus someone who plays kind of conservatively with that mechanic and like, no, I'm not going to burn my machine out. I needed to keep working on me, right? Or whatever the character reason is, that's a choice and decision, that's a character decision that you've made, right? Through that mechanical choice. And similarly, like when I'm walking through a candy store and I'm like, well, I think that the opposing force has snipers and like landmines and big guy with hammer, like that's a decision that, right, that tells me narratively about that opposing force, right? And it does so with the mechanics, which like is very hard to do. Generally, a lot of things it's very hard to do, but Lancer kind of helps you make those decisions by naming them guy with sniper, guy with mines, guy with hammer, right? You're like, oh, I know immediately what this does.
Real quick, I do have a quick aside to ask about map making.
Yeah, please.
Just because color's important, is there a way to edit on this table, specifically for compositing a scene, is there a way to edit the grid? And what color it is.
Yes.
Because the red removed, I promise, would make the map look completely different.
It 100% would. It'll be different on the table, right? We're going to load this onto the...
100%. That's why
it'll be different. We're going to load this onto the Lancer table, but on any table on Tabletop Sim, you can go to Options. You're going to have to watch it on my screen. I'm sorry, because I'm the host. Go to Options. Go down to Grid. And in the grid options, there's a color. What color do you want it to be?
Here, let me try it, because I have...
Bright blue!
I don't know if you can do it if you're not the host. Bright blue?
Like that.
Like this?
Beautiful.
No, I already applied. Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. You had a very classy blue. Here, turn it back. You have the touch. You have the power.
Oh.
This is a very different looking map now that it's all this bright of blue. Oh my god. It looks
you
almost...
still want to be able to read it.
Tundral.
It's just also you want it to...
It's an odd balance to find. It's why I sort of defaulted to the like Lancer core book red. Was because like A, it's a color that's on theme, right? But B, also like, oh, it's readable. I don't know. It goes with most things.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, sick. That's so cool. Honestly, I kind of like the way the grid projection looks on this swamp water. Because it kind of looks like the grid is being covered up by the debris moving downstream, which is so good.
Headcanon was that this is an SSC planet that dissuades
God.
metallic building just because the microbiome is hungry for metal.
Oh,
I love
so
that.
upsetting.
Yeah.
Having a bunch of things in the environment that like harm specifically non-biological mechs, and like rewarding Kai bioplating by letting you like move through shit, and like maybe House ruling that gives the biological tag.
That's very fun. That's very fun. And like, I love that over the course of building this cute little map and being like, oh, maybe it should be a swamp. Like, we've already ended up at, I have this cool idea for what the planet is and what the lore of the planet is, right? Yeah. Also, like, I feel like SSC Planet doing a Jurassic Park would be so deeply in tone for them.
Yeah.
It'd be so in tone for them. And also, Jurassic Park is sick. We love Jurassic Park. It's cool.
Has anyone here actually read Jurassic Park?
I don't think I've like read it.
It's a good time.
I've heard that the book is very different than the movie.
It's very different. It's fucking awesome. They go hunting with bazookas.
Oh my god!
The guy they hired for security was like, I see what that is. I see what might be necessary if it broke out.
I love that man's resting vibe. Well, and maybe and then when so we're gonna I'm gonna do a different thing where I talk about making custom models because I don't want to teach people to use GIMP, not on the grounds that I'm being stingy, but on the grounds that people should use tools that have been up to date within the last 15 years. I love you, GIMP, but like it is showing its age as a project, and I should learn a different image editing software. But once I do that, like you could go to Retrograde, right? If you have their thing, make custom NPC models, and then replace these with those, right? I'm sure you could build an SSC model that looks like a Demolisher, right? And looks like a sniper, and looks like it snipes things, or looks like it places mines, right? You could almost certainly make an SSC model that looks like those things. And then those could be visually what these are, which also adds this, like, even if mechanically, right, that's a sniper, a seeder, and a demolisher, mechanically, experientially adds this experience of like, oh, sick, I've never seen a monarch built for melee combat before. That's awesome, right? And like you get to feel the sort of the texture of those mechs being in the world through your NPCs just by changing the art on the tokens. If you want to do that, right? If you visit this as an SSC team. And that's the extra mile for this sort of project, but like you could if you want to. And if once I figure out how to do image editing good, it's not that hard to do. Yeah. That's it. I don't know.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
Well, this felt productive.
yeah.
Right?
I'm so glad I felt I was worried that it would be me being preachy a lot. Thank you all for joining me for this. I had a lot of fun. I do think, right, this was, this has been a 2.5 hour stream so far. I feel like I could probably condense a lot of this, like, advice into, like, a whopping, I don't know, 10, 15, 20-minute video on, like, how to run Lancer for real. But, like, I think it's sick. I think, yeah. I feel like, just because I want there to be more resources on how to run Lancer, and I think a lot of people encounter Lancer and they're like, okay, I want to get into Lancer, but I have no idea what to do now. And like, it can be kind of like, if you flip to the lore page and there's just these lists of dates and events, it can be kind of impenetrable. Or if you're like, okay, the GM section, it's like, here is this really involved combat system. You're like, here's all these like 30 different actions you can take at base. Like, that can be kind of impenetrable. I'm like, how do I start playing Lancer now with my friends is a harder thing to get into and a harder sell, right? And so I think having an entry level for Lancer is something that it needs. I would like it to have more of. And so maybe I will make video essays. I don't know. Or maybe next week on Monday we start the fucking Jurassic Park campaign. It would be so sick. Y'all have convinced me, but we've got to befriend the dinosaurs. That's my only stipulation. We can fight the dinosaurs, and that's cool, right? But also, I want to be friends.
I see how you're painting all dinosaurs with the same brush. I'm sure
a simple creature. I want to be friends with. I at least want to be friends with some of them. I love running around in a mech, getting like hunted for food by giant monsters. Like, I do dig that, but I want to be friends with giant monsters. I'm a giant monster apologist.
Is this going to be like a Jurassic World thing where we semi-arbitrarily decide that actually it's not the dinosaurs that are a problem, it's the gene editing, and so the gene-edited dinosaurs are evil? Because that made me mad.
That's stupid. That's because it's stupid. Because I don't think GMOs are evil, guys. Hey, people are doing evil shit with GMOs, but like actually gene editing has produced an ability to create crops that yield an amount to support a population that we didn't know we had before. Like, gene editing is this amazing Thomas Malthus devouring miracle, and people are using it for bad shit, but like the concept of gene editing itself is not the fucking problem, guys. Jurassic World struggles from a movie that doesn't have anything to say, if I'm being completely honest. You can tell when a movie struggles plot-wise because it didn't have anything, like, it didn't have things to say, and so its plot beats ring kind of hollow because they're like, we want to do a cool action scene with a big dinosaur, and it's like, that's awesome. Does the big dinosaur mean anything? And like, it doesn't have to mean much. here's the secret within GM tips how to write a story. It doesn't have to mean much. It doesn't. You just have to mean it with your whole chest. Like, even if you're like Kojima, right? Kojima wrote Metal Gear and he was like, war bad. And also, people can choose their own destiny. And that's the plot of Metal Gear Solid 1. And every single character, in some way, is saying that again, right? And is saying one of those two things, or both of those things, with their whole chest. And when they said it with no reservations, it was awesome and surreal, because when you say something with your whole chest, it's interesting and weird, and that's how you tell good stories, memorable stories. Just be about anything. Just be about one thing, right? Like Jurassic Park, chaos theory, right? We are not God and can't control everything. That's the whole fucking plot of the story.
Oh, it isn't? Are you kidding me?
Jurassic Park? It's about chaos theory.
Capitalism bad.
Also capitalism bad. Listen, that's like a foot. That's also always present. That's just what telling a story is. You're so right. I'm doing a bit. But like to my understanding, I haven't read the book, so I don't want to talk too out of turn. But like to my understanding, a big part of it is about chaos theory, about our unpredictable ability to control systems. Right? We're gonna build a park with cool dinosaurs because we can't be stopped and we can control everything. Oh no, we can't control everything like all the cool dinosaurs. Right?
Yeah.
And like,
Just make your story about anything, right? Just make your story about anything, and it'll be awesome, right? And like, and just commit to being about stuff. And then if people are like, that's pretty gross, explore how you told that story and whether it said what you meant it to, and explore like whether in your heart. Explore in your heart whether the thing you feel about that thing, right, the thing it's about, explore in your heart whether or not you feel that's correct, right, when you are reflecting. And that's it. That's how to write stories. There it is. That's the whole thing. And you just keep doing that over and over, and you get better and better at stories. That's it. Oh, and imbibe lots of stories. Sorry, there we go. That's the end of the rant. Just love things. That's the thesis. I don't know.
I like how the thesis keeps changing every couple of seconds.
It's all the same thesis, but also they're all different theses. But also it's all the same thesis. Just love stuff. I don't know. Thank you for letting me ramble. At some point I will put those thoughts into like a concise, describable thing. But like,
halfway through, you said something really interesting. And
I'm so glad.
The thing about like chaos theory and not being in control of systems is sure partially the dinosaurs, but like the park, when they say they spared no expense, they were attempting to make it fully automated, and the failure in the mechanical systems also going alongside that.
Yeah. No, there are lots of aspects of Jurassic World that I do genuinely enjoy. I think that talking about commodification and how it plays in with like militarization and
It's
military budget of the US. like there's a lot of interesting things that it touches on.
Yeah.
I just have a gripe with one of them in particular.
I think that Jurassic World kind of trips into having a lot of. Now we're way off the rails, but I think Jurassic World kind of trips into those themes. Is the vibe I got from it was that it didn't necessarily have strong feelings, but it had read a lot of stories and knew that stories often talked about those themes, right? I think if it picked one of those themes to have really strong feelings about, it would be really good. I want to see the evil military dinosaur. I want to rescue the evil military dinosaur from its, like, implants or whatever that the military put in it to make it more aggressive, and so the military dinosaur gets to live a beautiful life. I think that would be sweet. I think that sounds awesome, right? Also, by the way, if you want to have your cake and eat it too, right, maybe that's the SSC planet's final thing, right? Is that the final boss fight with the super T-Rex, we are trying to, like, get close enough to her that we can disable whatever SSC is doing to her, and it becomes a fight not about taking out the enemy, but about like stalling and keeping each other safe to get close enough to her to do that action, right? That'd be sick. That'd be cool.
Something really fascinating that's gone over in the books a lot more than the movies is also exactly how old the damn things are.
Mm-hmm.
So you're familiar with the one bit in the movie where it's like, oh, they can't see if you don't move.
Yeah.
Like that actually is a thing. We jiggle our eyeballs. That's how we overcame that.
Yeah.
That's
But
hilarious.
like stuff like that, and some of the toxins being theorized to be such early forms that they're like huge globules. They're still in a sort of mistake, like accidental stage of evolution where they're not like efficiently rounded down to their like most toxic and like simple state, like we see in a lot of lizards nowadays. Like
That's so cool. That's so cool. Maybe I gotta go read Jurassic Park now.
really good.
Yeah, I hear it's really good.
Also,
I need
I
to
also
read
hear-
Babel
Oh,
first.
Hey, also,
No,
while you're
go
map
back, go back,
editing,
go
sometimes
back.
you're gonna do things like delete the ground. It will happen to you. It will, even despite your best instinct, sometimes it'll happen to you live on air. That happened a couple times. Don't worry about it. Just undo. Breathe deep. You only have to feel the despair for the time it takes to load the table.
Is the map saved?
It could be.
We should save it, I think.
Are we
Or,
at
like,
a point
find
where
a
we? I
map.
mean, so here's the thing: is you can just make a save, right? On Tabletop Simulator, you can. Here, let me clear this up a little bit. So step one: if you're working on a map and you want to save it for later, to keep working on it, you can go to Games. Let me pop this browser thing down. The Games.
Save and
You
load.
can go to Save and Load, and you can just hit Save Game and save it as whatever you want, right? Jurassic-Map. Save it as Lancer Jurassic-Map. Save. And now, whenever I want, I can pull up Lancer Jurassic-Map, and it'll be here, right?
Beautiful.
And there is a different protocol when we decide that we're ready to put this map in, fully in the thing. So let me know when you are ready to load this onto a table. I'm going to tweak it a little bit before we get to that point, because I have notes.
I am saving. It's not showing up as a file that's been saved yet.
So close the menu and then open it again and see if it's there.
It is not.
Okay. Sometimes saving is janky when you're not the host. Let me double check that saving is enabled, because that is also a server option. Server options, turns, hands, game keys, permissions. Decal, flicking, drawings, saving. Save objects. Okay, so I don't think it's enabled if you're not the host, which is a shame. But you should be able to do that save game action, right? If you're the one working on the table, if you're the host, you should be able to do that just fine, right?
Okay.
Save is too large to transfer, so you can't receive it because it's big. It's a big table. Again,
Yep.
This 12-year-old software was not designed to do this shit at all. That's not what this is for. So let me know when we feel we are decently ready enough to go for it.
What we got right now.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. And are you ready? You want to? I think I can let you press the magic button. So now we have to press the magic button and see how much of it stayed with us, because there are limitations to our tools, right? Why don't you reach over and press? See this stage? See this stage over here? The stage thing over here. Click that save table button and watch the magic unfold. Hopefully. Bam.
Yeah.
All right, and now you can name this map whatever you want. Don't edit SET, like cap SET underscore. Don't edit that. Don't change that. Just change like whatever you want. Like, what's the name of this map?
This is the swamp.
Swamp. What else? What? How is this swamp? Is it Swamp Crossing? Swamp Bridge.
Swamp Bridge.
Swamp Bridge is a little old place where we can get together. I'm done. I'm packing up my bags and I'm going home. All right, so now we have Swamp Bridge. If you want, you can right-click that. You can save it as an object, just to make sure that set Swamp Bridge, save object.
Hey.
And then when we go back over to the Lancer table, we're gonna make the magic happen. We're gonna make the magic happen. We're gonna load here for a second. Thank you for your patience.
March?
What?
Oh, you just disconnected.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I left the table. I figured
You can go wherever you want.
having 2 people who saved it would be enough.
So now we're going to go over the table. It's going to load for a second, right? And now we're here back on the Lancer table. And then as your representative god, we're going to go over here. We're going to take this box, take this bag, and drop bags here, as the ancient rites have taught us. Oop, I'm going to change how that happens so the Lancer map itself disappears. Give me 1 second. Well, listen, it's not super visible. It should unload the Lancer table, so it shouldn't be appearing vaguely under the swamp, but don't worry about that. But the important part is we dropped that on there, and here we are. Here's the map. Here's this cool dinosaur showdown.
I'm so hyped.
And there we go. That's right. And then we can have that as the ingress zone, right? All the things where we're drawn on the map to just establish zones, all that can happen here. If you want these guys to come in rather than appearing, right, rather than already being on the table, but you are going to have to unlock them, by the way. Everything arrives locked, but that's whatever.
Quick aside, though, you can see the base, second edition Lancer cover through the river.
It was supposed to remove, and it got busted, and I forgot to remove it. That will be fixed by the time we get out here. But select these guys. They should have hands by default. I'll fix that. But all right, and you just pop these into your hand, and then we're like, oh, we're walking along our beautiful corrosive swamp lands. Oh, we just got to cross one of these bridges. Then they can emerge from behind the trees, or if they're SSC soldiers, they can uncloak dramatically, right? Mm-hmm. Or they can just fold out of the foliage, and they can just appear right wherever you want them to. Because they were in your hand. You just have to copy paste them. And there you have it. That's what was that?
Oh, I was just muttering to myself. It'd be fascinating to run a sort of a player side ambush where you could choose where to pop out of yourself.
Yes.
Ambush and convoy.
Yes. It would be sick. I would have some thoughts about how to load that or how to design a map for that. I think I'd have to think through that. But yes.
I'm just musing.
No, yes, I think it would be fascinating. I think it would be sick as hell. I think it would have an NPC suggest a optimal place for the ambush to happen, just so we didn't Shadowrun table ourselves. Derogatory. I love Shadowrun tabling, but design your environment so people have interesting puzzles to solve, not annoying puzzles to solve. This is my having run games wisdom. But there you have it. There's your bridge crossing. And just like that, we have created a cool, ominous swamp.
Fuck yeah.
I like how the rocks also, you can be viewed by the sniper, but it's only kind of. That's very cool. That's very fun. I was like, someone could cross this bridge, or just leap over the water, but it is it's here, let me change my measuring stick really quick. You can change your measuring stick, by the way. By the grid. It's 5 to cross over the water, and if you don't fly, you have to slog that whole way. It's an ominous river. There you go, right? And as we load into the table, right, now we have this just diorama rising out of the center of this table. So all of the combat aids are still there, right? All of the rules, mechanics, and all of the things that we looked at before are still there. But now we get to look at them in the context of this cool map we have. There you have it. That's how to use the Lancer table, I guess.
Simple. It only takes 2.5 hours.
But here's the thing, right? I think a 2.5 hour prep time
it's very
for a game,
reasonable.
And especially for the level of your players think you're a wizard. You show up every week and you're yeah, I built this involved, ominous, foggy, swamp with this like slowly churning river and this like these, you know, like that's super cool. And it cool. Doesn't like it is a very achievable goal to build something this involved and fancy looking, which was the hope, right? Also, you'll notice, by the way, I wanted to point this out, like our board spilled over the edges a little bit, but when your board spills over the edges a little bit, it just looks like that tree, like the roots are just growing into the table itself, and that looks cool. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. Are there I think any other meta questions about or hear about this? Mars, do you feel like I've answered your questions effectively about designing encounters?
Yes.
Do you feel well prepared to run cool encounters?
I feel like if I were given 2 hours to sit down and poke at CompCon, I would be able to like build a cool encounter or two in that time.
Exactly, and that's like it takes time.
Yeah.
Like, and also when you spend time poking at it, you find the cute little interactions. Like, I want to run, what was it? The priest. The augur was a like an elite priest, but he was a priest, right?
Uh-huh.
And the investiture gives +1 accuracy on stuff. I want to run him alongside the... where is it? Where's the double shotgun boy? I think it's the breacher who has +2 difficulty on all their shots, which means they almost never hit, unless you investiture them, and they only have 1 difficulty, which, like, it's certainly easier to hit under those conditions, right?
Right.
And, like, you could aim with 1 action, I believe this is how this works, aim with 1 action, fire the dual shotguns at 2 targets with the second action. Like, that's cool! Right? I would love to see, like a priestly shotgun duo. That sounds super cool.
Hell yeah.
Or, like, scouts with rainmakers, because scouts put pings on things, and rainmakers are extra accurate if they're consuming lock-on. And scouts put lock-on on stuff.
It's a little late, but for the priests and the breachers, I should have answered. Oh, I love Constantine.
Yes, yes. We do love Constantine. It's a good movie. It's cute. It's good. We love you, Keanu Reeves, and also I know that there are comic books. Don't hate me. I'm sorry. But yeah, like, so that's how easy this is, right? I feel like this is. I've worked as hard as I could to make this accessible to the layperson, right? And I think accessible to someone who hasn't spent thousands of hours like thinking about it, because it's a game. You're here to have fun. You shouldn't have to spend thousands of hours thinking about it. You should spend only a few hours thinking about it if you want to, if that's fun. Are you gonna let me? No, the foggy refuses this day. And gosh, it's so cool. I don't know. Yeah. Any thoughts on? I think Harvestman, especially because you were the most hands-on with the maps. Any thoughts on map making?
I'm happy with it. I would dig playing through this in a actual video game.
Yeah, I mean, someone made the joke that, like, I think Harvestman might have been you. You're like, you put amount of work into this, like, it should just be an actual video game. Like, sometimes I do that. It's true, but also, I don't know. I think it's fun. I just don't have the coding skills. I will learn every other skill. I'm also learning the coding skills. Listen, but like, yeah, thank you so much for. Everything. Are there any final thoughts people have? And like,
thanks
that could
for
be
sharing your fun stuff with us. It makes it way easier when you've compiled everything into
hard.
like, yeah.
I just want everyone else to be able to play with it without I think lowering the barrier to entry on stuff is good. Accessibility important. In all the ways that word can be used, right? And like, because I don't want you to have to spend all the time digging through all the individual mods where all of these 3D objects were. I want you to be able to just have the fun.
I'm gonna be real. If that's what was required, I would not.
Exactly, right? But now it's like a fun virtual, like you just get a fun virtual kit bashing adventure where you get to look at treasure, right? Like, and that's awesome and fun.
I can't hold it anymore. The intrusive thought needs to come out. And everybody else see it. We blocked this river. It is damned.
You know, that sounds right. That sounds, and it's very stagnant. It's very... Oh. So yeah, that's how to build a Lancer map, and I think some of my thoughts on like learning to do GMing. Like in terms of like how to or specifically GMing Lancer, right, and making the combat less threatening and less difficult. I don't know. Any other parting words, parting questions? And also, I don't know if how many folks are in chat, but like any other parting thoughts from chat? Okay. Well, thank you all for joining me. Hopefully the map mod I hope will be up in the next couple days. Thank you so much for your patience. I was trying to have it out by today, but life happens. Life happens. And gosh, it's been so good. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that y'all get to do cool, fun Lancer adventures. I hope you have a great time. And also, you'll probably find the finished version of, like, you'll probably find this map among the custom maps if you want to play with it. Because this is awesome, right? This is it's just so cool. This is sick. All right. In that case, thank you all so much. Thank you both so much for joining me on this little Lancer adventure. I will probably be back in some form at 7 p.m. PST. There will be another campaign coming around sometime, be it of Lancer, be it of something else. I will be running more Lancer. I will certainly be running Season 2 of Divine Right of Kings at some point. I will probably run shorter Lancer bits before that, like unrelatedly, just because I think, narratively, because I think Lancer is fun, and also shorter campaigns are probably easier to get into than 34 episodes that are an average of like 3 hours each. That's a lot. That's a big ask. I'm honored that some of you stuck with it. I'm so glad you had fun. Yeah, and gosh, I don't know. Any other plugs? Any other things people want to like mention?
I don't know. Do cool stuff.
Do cool
Whatever
stuff.
that means to you. Do it.
Whatever that means to you. Do cool stuff. Plug. Do cool stuff. Gosh, right. And I will see people back here at 7 p.m. PST on Monday for something. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was fun and informative. Good night, everybody.
Night.